Chapter 1612. In the Five Spirits sect, little Emperor Yan's strength was invincible. However, there were still people like Mu Lin, who were unwilling to submit to little Emperor Yan. It was the same in the Sacred Academy sect. Although Wu Dao was already the young lord of the Sacred Academy sect, there were still people who were unwilling to submit to him. Han Yi was one of them. He was also someone who could faintly contend with Wu Dao. Do you think this matter is true? Chu Fengmian looked at Yan Hanqi and suddenly asked. Brother Chu, do you think this matter is a little strange? Are you afraid there's a trap? Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Yan Hanqi pondered for a moment and immediately understood the meaning of Chu Fengmian's words. The relationship between the Five Spirits sect and the Sacred Academy sect was at most average. As for being on good terms, it was not considered good. This time, Han Yi suddenly came to invite the Five Spirits sect to explore a treasure together. This matter might not be true. Although Han Yi is not on good terms with Wu Dao, he is proud and arrogant. Not only does he want to be the lord of the Sacred Academy sect, but he also wants to unify the Sacred Dragon Mystery Domain. This invitation might not be a good thing. Yan Hanqi carefully pondered for a moment. He could not help but frown and then said, Brother Chu, do you think we should reject this invitation? No, agree with them. We'll bring people over. Chu Fengmian suddenly said. There was a cold look in Chu Fengmian's eyes. If Han Yi really wants to cooperate with us to explore the treasure, then we won't lose out. We'll definitely get some benefits from it. And if Han Yi dares to deal with us, then I won't have to search for them one by one. Seeing the coldness in Chu Fengmian's eyes, Yan Hanqi also understood. There was a great hatred between Chu Fengmian and the Sacred Academy sect. This time, if Han Yi really intended to attack the Five Spirits sect, then he would be playing into Chu Fengmian's hands. It was a good opportunity to eradicate the Sacred Academy sect's saints in this Buddhist temple to avoid future troubles. Gather all the Five Spirits sect's holy sons and prepare to depart. Chu Fengmian said. Then, he moved his hand and a spiritual force attached itself to the 10,000 thoughts Buddhist beads on his wrist. It concealed the 10,000 thoughts Buddhist beads aura. No one would be able to tell that the string of Buddhist beads on Chu Fengmian's wrist was the famous 10,000 thoughts Buddhist beads if he didn't use his spirit force to resist the restrictions of the temple. The 10,000 chant Buddhist beads was one of the most precious treasures of the Pure Land sect. It was too ostentatious to carry it around. Now that it was hidden, it would have an unexpected effect. Yes. Yan Hanqi nodded and went to gather the other Five Spirits sect's holy sons. Under Chu Fengmian's power, Yan Hanqi had become the leader of these Five Spirits sect's holy sons. In a short while, all the holy sons of the Five Spirits sect had gathered and were ready to set off. Let's go. As Chu Fengmian spoke, Yan Hanqi took the lead. He turned into a streak of light and flew towards the area where little Jianwang Han Yi was. A large number of holy sons of the Five Spirits sect followed closely behind. Chu Fengmian was in the center of the crowd. Countless holy sons of the Five Spirits sect surrounded Chu Fengmian like stars surrounding the moon. Anyone with a discerning eye could see at a glance that Chu Fengmian was the core of these holy sons of the Five Spirits sect. There were hundreds of holy sons of the Five Spirits sect, and almost all of them were in the realm above Emperor Gu. They activated their spirit force together and turned into a streak of light. Like a river of stars, they swept across the Tibetan ground. There were various demons hidden in the Tibetan ground and many warriors. The moment they saw this streak of light, they all retreated. No one dared to come forward. There was strength in numbers. Chu Fengmian looked at this scene and couldn't help but sigh. No wonder Chu Fengmian was the first to enter the temple. But now, the experts of the Five Spirits sect, the Holy Academy sect, and other forces had entered the Tibetan ground one step ahead of Chu Fengmian. They relied on strength in numbers. These holy sons of the Five Spirits sect flew together. Even if the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu was not among them, one or two Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu did not dare to come forward to stop them. They could only retreat. As for the various demons, no one dared to court death by provoking such a group of holy sons of the Five Spirits sect. There are demons everywhere in the Tibetan ground. It seems that in the ancient records, the destruction of the Pure Land sect should have been destroyed by the extraterrestrial demons. These demons should be the descendants of the demons who once attacked the Pure Land sect. In the Tibetan ground, Chu Fengmian had seen some demons for a long time. Many of these devil clans were not low-level devil clans that were born with devil will. There were many high-level devil clans, such as Asuras and Yakshas. The bloodlines of these demons were extremely ancient. They were definitely not the demon army under the young emperor's command. In addition to the demon puppets that Chu Fengmian had seen before, the Pure Land sect should have been destroyed in the hands of the demons. It was no wonder that the young emperor was so interested in the treasures in the Buddhist temple. Among the demon army that could destroy the Pure Land sect, there must be some extremely powerful demons. Most of them also died in the Buddhist temple. The young emperor was determined to step into the celestial being realm. The various demon treasures left behind were all things that he desired. If the young emperor steps into the celestial being realm, it will be troublesome. Chu Fengmian could not help but think. These holy sons of the Five Spirits sect did not know the whereabouts of the Five Elements Saber Saint and the young emperor, the two half-step celestial being realm experts. The strength of the two was invincible in the Buddhist temple. It was afraid that many ancient Buddhist prohibitions could not stop the two of them. It was likely that the two of them had already entered the deepest part of the treasure trove to search for the truly enormous treasure trove. However, the two of them should not have obtained the huge treasure in the Buddhist temple. Once the treasure appeared, the Buddhist temple would also be strange. This also meant that Chu Fengmian had time to go and fight for the treasure. While Chu Fengmian was thinking, the crowd had already flown thousands of miles and passed through countless mountains. Suddenly, there were many warriors standing on a plain. These warriors, without exception, were all Emperor Gu. At a glance, everyone's clothes were engraved with the word Saint. There was no doubt that these people were the Holy Sons of the Saint Academy sect, one of the four sects of the Holy Dragon sect. The power of the Saint Academy sect surpassed that of the Five Spirits sect. These Holy Sons of the Saint Academy sect were only a part of the Holy Sons of the Saint Academy sect. There were hundreds of them, almost comparable to all the Holy Sons of the Five Spirits sect. Chapter 1613. Martial Intent Condensation. This person's martial Tao comprehension had already reached the peak and was close to the pinnacle. His martial Tao was close to the level of a half-step celestial being. The hundreds of saints of the Saint Academy sect all stood respectfully beside this man, showing their subservience. Even the saints of the Sacred Academy sect, who were all peerless geniuses, bowed respectfully beside this man. Tyrannical martial Tao. The moment Chu Fengmian looked at this man, he felt a great pressure enveloping him. This pressure was not deliberately exerted by the man. Instead, it was an aura that was naturally emitted from his body. The tyrannical martial Tao was the most domineering of all martial Taos. It wanted the world to submit to it, and no one could stand shoulder to shoulder with it. These saints of the Sacred Academy sect had already submitted to this tyrannical martial Tao. This tyrannical martial Tao was extremely difficult to cultivate. Only by being undefeated in one's life would one be able to advance on this tyrannical martial Tao. Any failure would affect one's Tao heart in the tyrannical martial Tao. Once one failed, one's Tao heart would be broken, and one's Tao heart might not be able to advance further in one's life. Cultivating this tyrannical martial Tao seemed easy, but being undefeated in one's life was easier said than done. It was almost impossible. Only a genius among geniuses could achieve the possibility of being undefeated in one's life. Chu Fengmian knew that many experts had cultivated this tyrannical martial Tao, but without exception, they had all failed. No one could reach the pinnacle of this martial Tao. The man in front of him had already reached the level of 9 tribulations Emperor Gu, but he was still cultivating the tyrannical martial Tao. This meant that this person had not failed even once until now. This was extremely frightening, and it also contributed to this person's tyrannical martial Tao. This is the Sacred Academy sect's Han Yi. Yan Hanshi also saw the noble man in the center of the crowd, and his expression changed drastically as he said to Chu Fengmian, This this person has already reached the level of 9 tribulations Emperor Gu? How is that possible? According to one of the higher-ups in the Holy Dragon Mystery Dimension, this person's martial cultivation is extremely difficult. Unless he has a great opportunity, it would take him several decades to reach the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu. How could this person break through in just a few short months? Yan Hanshi was extremely shocked. At the very least, the last time they met in the Holy Land, Hanye's realm was still that of the 8 tribulations Emperor Gu. He was still far from breaking through to the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu. After not seeing him for a few months, Hanye has truly stepped into the realm of the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu. A great opportunity? With the upheaval of the 9 regions, there are opportunities everywhere. It's not strange for this person to have obtained some great opportunity. Chu Fengmian glanced at the cold night and said casually. Countless treasures had been opened, but Chu Fengmian couldn't calculate exactly how many treasures had been opened. However, Chu Fengmian had already obtained great benefits from the upheaval of the 9 regions, and Han Yi was naturally the same. After all, anyone could obtain the opportunities in the world. Han Ye's strength had almost reached the peak of the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu. This person's martial cultivation was almost not inferior to the little Emperor Yan and the others who had obtained the inheritance of strength. Once he stepped into the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu, he would be countless times stronger than the ordinary level 9 Emperor Gu. He would become an overlord among the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu. He doesn't come with good intentions. Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered, and a cold smile appeared at the corners of his mouth. Han Ye's strength was almost stronger than 3 or 4 9 tribulations Emperor Gu's combined strength. With such strength, what kind of treasure would he need the help of the 5 Spirits sect to open? It should be known that even if the little Emperor Yan of the 5 Spirits sect was still alive, he would at most be equivalent to 2 or 3 Emperor Gu's strength. Han Yi suddenly wanted to join forces with the 5 Spirits sect. It seemed that it was not as simple as opening a treasure. Come, let's go down. Chu Fengmian took a glance and immediately opened his mouth. With Yan Hanshi as the leader, a group of 5 Spirits sect's Holy Sons also descended and landed on this plain. The Holy Sons of the Sacred Academy sect retreated one after another, leaving an area for the 5 Spirits sect's Holy Sons to land. After a while, a figure walked out from the crowd of Sacred Academy sect's Holy Sons. This figure was little Jianwang Han Yi. Little Jianwang. Yan Hanshi saw the arrival of little Jianwang Han Yi and stepped out to greet him. Where's little Emperor Yan? Where is he? Why is little Emperor Yan unwilling to come in person when the 5 Spirits sect came to cooperate with our Sacred Academy sect? Seeing Yan Hanshi walking out, Han Ye's eyes showed some disdain. He ignored Yan Hanshi and said angrily. Who do you think you are? Let little Emperor Yan talk to me. If you want to see little Emperor Yan, you won't have this chance. Hearing Han Ye's arrogant words, Chu Fengmian's face darkened. He sneered and said. Now the 5 Spirits sect's Holy Sons are under my command. If you have anything to say, tell me. The 5 Spirits sect's Holy Sons are under your command? Kid, who are you? You don't look like the 5 Spirits sect's Holy Son. Little Jianwang Han Yi suddenly saw Chu Fengmian walk out. His eyes flashed as he sized up Chu Fengmian. Seeing that Chu Fengmian was only in the realm of 8 tribulations Emperor Gu, his eyes showed some contempt. What? Now the 5 Spirits sect is letting an outsider make the decisions? After all, the 5 Spirits sect is one of the 4 major sects in the Sacred Dragon Mystery Dimension. Today, they let an outsider make the decisions. What a disgrace. Han Yi stared at Chu Fengmian. His face gradually darkened as he said coldly. Kid, quickly tell me where little Emperor Yan is. What tricks are you playing? I don't have time to waste my breath with you. Little Emperor Yan has been killed by me. Unless you die, I don't think you can see the little Emperor Yan. Chu Fengmian looked at Han Yi and said coldly. Little Emperor Yan is dead? You killed him? Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Han Ye's eyes showed some disbelief as he sized up Chu Fengmian. His eyes were full of suspicion. Obviously, he didn't believe Chu Fengmian's words. One of the holy sons of the Holy Academy sect standing behind Han Yi directly speaks up. Kid, don't talk big. What kind of person is little Emperor Yan? Is he someone you can kill? Yan Hanshi, where did your five spirits sect get such a crazy trash? If you let this person continue to cause trouble, there's no need to talk about the cooperation between us. Impudent. When Yan Hanshi and the other holy sons of the five spirits sect heard the holy son of the Sacred Academy sect, their faces changed greatly as they shouted in unison. Wang Hongwang, do you want to start a war with the five spirits sect? Yan Hanshi said directly. Chapter 16-14. Now they had already recognized Chu Fengmian as their leader. The holy son of the Saint Academy insulted Chu Fengmian, which was equivalent to insulting the entire five spirits sect. Not only Yan Hanshi, but the other holy sons of the five spirits sect also looked gloomy. What? Without the little Emperor Yan, what are you trash? Without the little Emperor Yan, do you think the five spirits sect is worthy of being one of the four sects with the Saint Academy? The holy son of the Saint Academy, Wang Hongwang, heard Yan Hanshi's words and said impolitely. Let's fight. Without the little Emperor Yan, do you think you can fight with me? Wang Hongwang glanced at the holy sons of the five spirits sect and said disdainfully. You? Yan Hanshi still wanted to say something, but suddenly a figure walked out from his side. Brother Chu. Seeing Chu Fengmian walk out, Yan Hanshi immediately shut up. He had already seen the killing intent in Chu Fengmian's eyes. Once Chu Fengmian was angry, any dissuasion would be meaningless. Yan Hanshi looked at Wang Hongwang again as if he was looking at a dead man. It seems that the holy sons of the Saint Academy have no intention of cooperating with the five spirits sect. Chu Fengmian walked out. His tone was still calm, but under this calmness, his face revealed a bit of coldness. Chu Fengmian had given the holy sons of the Saint Academy enough face, but now they came to force him. Boy, you dare to lead the five spirits sect and take the lead? Seeing Chu Fengmian walk out, Wang Hongwang still looked at him with disdain. Suddenly, he showed some viciousness. We don't have time to talk nonsense with you. Get out. Boom. Suddenly, Wang Hongwang launched an attack. Condensing spiritual power in his palm, he aimed it at Chu Fengmian's chest and immediately bombarded it. The power of this palm was extremely violent and directly killed the killer. At such a close distance, there was almost no time to react. Brother Chu, be careful. The holy sons of the five spirits sect did not expect Wang Hongwang to suddenly launch an attack. Their faces changed, and they hurriedly reminded him. Although they knew Chu Fengmian's strength, Wang Hongwang's sudden attack was like a sneak attack, which was impossible to guard against. However, before the holy sons of the five spirits sect finished speaking, they saw Chu Fengmian waved his sleeve. A spiritual power condensed in front of Chu Fengmian and turned into a barrier. The power of Wang Hongwang's palm hit the barrier and it immediately collapsed. It was far from being able to shake Chu Fengmian's defense. With such strength only Fengmian's strength? You are seeking death. Chu Fengmian's Emperor's eyes. The Emperor to is to 2's to 9 Emperor's 8 Emperor SSSS was ses the realm's realm was the 8 realm. It was already difficult for him to fight against the 9 tribulation ancient emperor. How dare he sneak up on Chu Fengmian with such strength? Even if Chu Fengmian stood there motionless, Wang Hongwang wouldn't be able to hurt him. Go to hell. Chu Fengmian's eyes revealed a cold killing intent. When Wang Hongwang dared to come and insult Chu Fengmian, it already represented the death of Wang Hongwang. Chu Fengmian waved his sleeve, and the surging spiritual power immediately forced Wang Hongwang to retreat. Immediately, Chu Fengmian's figure flashed, and he arrived in front of Wang Hongwang in one step. His speed was so fast that even Wang Hongwang did not have time to react. Chu Fengmian's figure was already in front of him. Boom! Chu Fengmian's palm fell mercilessly, and it bombarded Wang Hongwang's chest. With a rumble, Wang Hongwang's figure was blasted dozens of miles away, and a blood-red palm print was left on his chest. The blood-red palm print immediately exploded, and the power in it tore Wang Hongwang's body apart. blood mist filled the sky. Wang Hongwang's body was shattered by Chu Fengmian's palm. What? Countless saints in the Saint Academy sect were dumbfounded at the sight of this. Wang Hongwang's strength was considered above average among the holy sons of the Sacred Academy sect. Although he was far from being comparable to the little Yaowang Hanya, junior sect master Wu Dao, and the others, he was considered an expert among the ordinary holy sons. Wang Hongwang's aptitude was ranked among the top geniuses in the entire Daluo star field. He had a promising future, and there was a great chance that he could step into the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu, and become a high-level figure in the Sacred Dragon secret dimension. Now, his body was shattered by Chu Fengmian's palm. In front of Chu Fengmian, Wang Hongwang did not even have the chance to resist. If Chu Fengmian wanted to kill Wang Hongwang, it would be easier than crushing an ant. Who is this person? Surname Chu. Could it be Chu Fengmian of the Sacred Dragon sect? At this moment, countless gazes looked at Chu Fengmian, and their faces changed when they remembered how Yan Hanshi addressed Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian? The little Yaowang Hanya's face changed rapidly when he heard this name. He looked over. After Chu Fengmian shattered Wang Hongwang's body, he did not plan to let Chu Fengmian go. He suddenly grabbed at the air. Wang Hongwang's blood essence floating in the air was caught in Chu Fengmian's palm. Obviously, Chu Fengmian did not plan to give Wang Hongwang any chance to reconstruct his body. He wanted to completely kill him. Stop! Seeing Chu Fengmian's action, little Yaowang Hanya suddenly attacked. A wisp of martial intent condensed on his fist. Immediately, he circulated the spiritual power in his body and punched at Chu Fengmian. Wherever the fist passed, the space shook. The power contained in this fist was pure martial intent, and there was no technique to speak of. However, with Hanya's comprehension of martial arts, even a casual blow from him was an extremely mysterious martial technique. The punch seemed simple, but in fact, it contained a myriad of changes, and was impossible to guard against. The power of this punch bombarded Chu Fengmian. When it was close to Chu Fengmian's body, it changed continuously, as if from all directions, and attacked Chu Fengmian. Everyone only saw that it was as if countless Hanya were attacking Chu Fengmian. From all directions, there were fist winds bombarding Chu Fengmian. A martial intent with a myriad of changes. This is little Yaowang's most powerful martial intent. It's too terrifying. This martial intent is impossible to guard against. Little Yaowang is indeed a rare genius in martial arts in the Holy Dragon secret territory. His martial intent is so strong. Countless Five Spirits sect's holy sons saw little Yaowang Hanya attack, and their faces were extremely solemn. To be able to become a holy son of the Holy Dragon secret territory, none of these people were mediocre. Naturally, they could see the mystery of Hanya's attack. Formless was better than tangible. The ever-changing fist winds were harder to block than mysterious martial techniques. Chapter 16-15. Hundreds of fist winds bombarded Chu Fengmian from all directions. Just as the people of the Five Spirits sect were sighing at the power of the fist winds, Chu Fengmian suddenly moved. Under the watchful eyes of the people of the Five Spirits sect, they suddenly saw an incredible scene. Chu Fengmian just stretched out his finger and pointed lightly. Suddenly, a dragon roar resounded. A dragon shadow rose from behind Chu Fengmian. The dragon body shook, and the hundreds of fist winds were all shattered. Like a whirlwind sweeping away the clouds, this punch of little Yaowang Hanyi was easily neutralized, vanishing into thin air. And Chu Fengmian just stood there. He didn't even make a big move. With just a finger, he dissolved the fist winds of little Yaowang Hanyi. What kind of technique is this? Little Yaowang's fist winds were actually so easily blocked by this person. One punch is ever-changing. Even the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu would find it extremely difficult to deal with. What kind of strength is this? This person is only at the Eight Tribulations Emperor Gu's realm. Could it be that he is more terrifying than the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu? No wonder it is said that this person's aptitude is even higher than Yunzun's. It seems that this person's strength is indeed heaven-defying. What should we do? It seems that the Five Spirits sect and the Holy Dragon sect have already joined forces. This person is powerful and not easy to deal with. The various saints of the Sacred Academy sect looked at Chu Fengmian and discussed in low voices. They were not stupid. The moment they knew Chu Fengmian's identity, little Jianwang Hanyi suddenly attacked and wanted to kill Chu Fengmian with one move. After all, the Sacred Academy sect had always wanted to replace the Holy Dragon sect and become the head of the four sects in the Holy Dragon Mystery Dimension. And Chu Fengmian was now the most dazzling disciple of the Holy Dragon sect. If he could be killed on the spot, it would definitely be a good thing for the Sacred Academy sect. Therefore, when little Jianwang Hanyi attacked, it seemed that he was stopping Chu Fengmian from killing Wang Hongguang. In fact, he directly attacked to kill Chu Fengmian. But now, Chu Fengmian's strength was more powerful than they imagined. He was not weaker than little Jianwang Hanyi. With this kind of strength, once they fought, both sides would be injured. I admire Brother Chu's strength. Just now, I was just testing you and wanted to compare notes with Brother Chu. I hope Brother Chu won't take offense. Little Jianwang Hanyi was forced to retreat. Looking at Chu Fengmian, his face suddenly changed, revealing a smile. He took a step back, obviously not intending to attack again. As such, no one was able to stop Chu Fengmian. Wang Hongguang's essence blood was held in Chu Fengmian's palm. Wang Hongguang's figure appeared in this ball of essence blood and shouted anxiously. Little Yao, Senior Wang, save me. Shut up. Wang Hongguang, you instigated discord between our fellow disciples and almost caused us to kill each other. What are your intentions? Hearing Wang Hongguang's words, Hanyi roars at once, and suddenly punches out again. However, the target of this punch wasn't Chu Fengmian, but Wang Hongguang's essence blood. There was a rumbling sound. With Hanyi's punch, Wang Hongguang's blood essence is completely annihilated in the air, and there's no longer any possibility of survival. Wang Hongguang's sudden attack also made Yan Hanshi and the others unable to react for a while. Just now, Wang Hongguang was incomparably arrogant in front of Chu Fengmian and the others, but now he was actually killed by Hanyi with his own hands. Only Chu Fengmian's expression is incomparably calm. From the moment Hanyi stopped, Chu Fengmian expected this scene. Therefore, Chu Fengmian didn't intend to stop it. The spy has been eliminated. Brother Chu, please take a seat. After killing Wang Hongguang, little Jianwang Hanyi turned his head and said to Chu Fengmian. Immediately, several holy sons of the Holy Academy sect came forward, moved out a throne, and placed it next to Hanyi's throne. Chu Fengmian didn't stand on ceremony. He stepped forward and sat on the throne. Yan Hanshi and the others followed closely behind, standing behind Chu Fengmian to protect him. Everything just now was a misunderstanding. Brother Chu has such strength to lead the Five Spirits sect. We are sincerely convinced. Seeing Chu Fengmian sitting on the throne, Hanyi said with a smile on his face. He didn't mention the conflict just now. Hanyi didn't mention it, and Chu Fengmian didn't take the initiative to mention it. The two sat down and chatted. By the way, Brother Chu, do you know why I invited you here this time? Hanyi casually chatted a few words, and then got to the point. To unite our Five Spirits sect to open a treasure. Chu Fengmian said calmly. What kind of treasure is it? This treasure is very famous. It is ranked among the top treasures in this land. Brother Chu, have you heard of the 9 Regions Pure Land sect? Little Jianwang Hanyi said indifferently, but there was some excitement in his tone. I've heard a thing or two. It is said that this Buddhist temple is where the 9 Regions Pure Land sect is located. Chu Fengmian replied casually. The fact that Chu Fengmian came from the 9 regions hasn't been exposed yet. Chu Fengmian didn't say much, and quietly waited for Hanyi's words. Yes, according to the investigation, this Buddhist temple should be the core holy land of the Pure Land sect. It is also the burial place of countless Buddhist experts. Little Jianwang Hanyi said. The 9 regions used to be one of the 4 sacred regions. Although it has declined in today's era, in ancient times, the 9 regions did not lack experts. the ancestor of the Pure Land sect, the Pure Land Buddha, was a supreme expert. Moreover, the Pure Land sect has produced many Buddhas in the celestial realm. So, in this land, there are treasures everywhere. Even if we get one or two, it is a great opportunity. Based on the investigations of the Holy Son of our Sacred Academy sect, we have suddenly discovered a treasure trove that is about to be opened. However, the difficulty of opening this treasure trove is extremely high. With just our Sacred Academy sect alone, it would be hard for us to open it. That's why we specially invited Brother Chu and the others over. Which Buddha's mausoleum is it? Chu Fengmian said indifferently. Chu Fengmian knew that this was a traditional Buddhist burial. This so-called treasure was the mausoleum of a Buddhist expert. These mausoleums contained a large number of buried treasures, almost no less than a treasure trove. It's the mausoleum of the Golden Buddha. The Golden Buddha was a great figure. This person's body reached the pinnacle. He was a peerless expert who stepped into the celestial realm. Little Jianwang Hanyi said calmly, his eyes fixed on Chu Fengmian. I don't know if Brother Chu is interested. Golden Buddha? Hearing this name, Chu Fengmian's expression couldn't help but change a little. Outsiders didn't know much about the Pure Land sect, but Chu Fengmian was a person of the 9 regions. In the countless ancient books of the 9 regions, many Buddhist experts of the Pure Land sect were recorded. Chapter 16:16. Chu Fengmian had heard of the golden-bodied Buddha before. The golden-bodied Buddha was an expert from the Pure Land sect recorded in the ancient books of the 9 regions. He was an expert from the Vajra sect of Buddhism. The Vajra sect of Buddhism focused on the physical body and fought with the enemy with pure physical strength. The golden-bodied Buddha was an expert who had cultivated his physical body to the extreme. He had ascended to immortality with pure physical strength and stepped into the celestial realm. It was extremely difficult to ascend to immortality and step into the celestial realm. Throughout history, countless stunning geniuses were unable to cross that step in the end. In the current era of decline, the celestial realm was a mythical realm. Even the young emperor, who was said to be the most dazzling genius closest to the celestial realm, was far from the real celestial realm. It was much more difficult to ascend to the celestial realm by purely relying on the way of the physical body, as compared to stepping into the celestial realm through ordinary martial arts. There were very few people who could achieve this, and the golden-bodied Buddha was one of them. It was said that the golden-bodied Buddha had refined his physical body to the extreme. He could be said to be invincible. There were even some rumors about him. The golden-bodied Buddha's physical body had been refined to the point of an immortal real body. In ancient times, the golden-bodied Buddha was one of the famous war Buddhas of the Pure Land sect. No one knew how many enemies he had helped the Pure Land sect kill. But in the end, the golden-bodied Buddha had fallen. He did not expect that even the mausoleum of the golden-bodied Buddha would appear in the Tibetan temple. What moved Chu Fengmian was the treasures that might appear in the mausoleum of the golden-bodied Buddha. The 6-winged centipede and the Tibetan gold essence are probably hidden in the mausoleum of the golden-bodied Buddha. Just now, when they were outside, before the Buddhist temple was opened, countless lights of treasures appeared. Among these treasures, what Chu Fengmian wanted the most were the 6-winged centipede and the Tibetan gold essence. These 2 treasures were sacred objects of the way of body refining. They were indispensable to condense the immortal real body and refine the physical body to the extreme. These 2 treasures were most likely in the mausoleum of the golden-bodied Buddhist venerate in the Buddhist temple. For example, the 10,000 Thoughts Buddhist beads were born in the mausoleum of the 10,000 Thoughts Buddha sovereign. Even if the 6-winged centipede and the hidden gold essence were not in the mausoleum of the golden-bodied Buddha, there would still be other treasures for refining one's body. After Chu Fengmian used the godly tree to devour the bronze heavenly demon, his body had started to transform into a half-step immortal true body. He had reached the bottleneck. Obtaining some supreme treasures of the body-refining Tao would be enough to help Chu Fengmian break through the bottleneck and advance his physical body further. It seems that Brother Chu is interested in exploring the mausoleum of the Golden Buddha with us. Little Jianwang Hanyi saw Chu Fengmian's moved expression and couldn't help but open his mouth. He wasn't surprised at all. The fame of the Golden Buddha Sovereign wasn't only in the 9 regions, but also in the Daluotian star field. His tomb contained countless treasures, so no one wouldn't be moved by it. I am interested, but how should we distribute the treasures in the mausoleum of the golden-bodied Buddha? Chu Fengmian glanced at Han Yi and suddenly asked. There must be a lot of treasures in the mausoleum of the golden-bodied Buddha, and it wouldn't be easy to get them. Otherwise, Han Yi wouldn't have told Chu Fengmian about the mausoleum of the golden-bodied Buddha. Instead, he would have chosen to take it all for himself. Since Han Yi wanted to ask someone to explore the mausoleum of the golden-bodied Buddha, it was obvious that Han Yi's strength alone couldn't take the mausoleum of the golden-bodied Buddha. If they joined forces, the distribution of the treasures would be a problem. The mausoleum of the golden-bodied Buddha is huge, and there are Buddhist restrictions everywhere. It's difficult to move an inch. Once we enter, all the treasures will be obtained by strength. Whoever gets it first will get it. Little Jianwang Hanyi's figure moved, and he stood up from the chair and said to Chu Fengmian. What do you think, Brother Chu? Get it with strength? Okay. Chu Fengmian nodded. This was the best way. Brother Chu, let's set off as soon as possible, lest the mausoleum of the golden-bodied Buddha be discovered by others. Seeing that Chu Fengmian agreed, Han Yi immediately turned into a fleeing light and soared into the sky. At the same time, Han Yi also threw out a few jade talismans from his palm, and they immediately flew into the distance. This is? Seeing Han Yi's action, Chu Fengmian asked doubtfully. It's like this. It's difficult to open the restrictions in the mausoleum of the golden-bodied Buddha with our strength. I still need to call a few experts, but don't worry, Brother Chu, the rules won't change. A trace of imperceptible cunning flashed in Han Yi's eyes, and he immediately turned into a fleeing light and soared into the sky. Countless holy sons of the Holy Academy sect also urged the fleeing light and soared into the sky, flying into the distance. Brother Chu? I feel that this is a trap. At this moment, Yan Hanshi came over and whispered to Chu Fengmian. This little King Yao is incomparably arrogant. Today, Brother Chu slapped his face, and he will never let it go. How can he be so polite? I'm afraid it will be dangerous to go. It's okay. You don't have to intervene when something happens. Just protect yourselves. If Han Yi dares to act rashly, I can kill him alone. Chu Fengmian's eyes were extremely cold. If Han Yi really planned to explore the mausoleum with Chu Fengmian, it would be fine. As the saying goes, don't slap a smiling face. But if Han Yi dared to scheme against Chu Fengmian, then today would be the day of his death. Let's go. Chu Fengmian's figure flashed, and he soared into the sky, turning into a fleeing light and chasing after Han Yi. Yan Hanshi and the other holy sons of the 5 spirits sect also followed closely behind, turning into streaks of fleeing light and following after Han Yi. Hundreds of streaks of fleeing light traveled through this hidden ground. Seeing so many experts moving together, many Emperor Gu who traveled alone retreated one after another, for fear of attracting trouble. Along the way, this hidden ground did not seem to be big, but in fact, it was almost endless, as if it could go on forever. The strength of the expert who created this hidden ground is unimaginable. Chu Fengmian observed the entire hidden ground and could not help but sigh. Experts who had stepped into the celestial realm were able to create a small world. For example, the small world where the Sword Tao sect was located was created by Chu Fengmian's senior brother, Jianwang. But that small world, compared with this hidden ground, was simply the difference between cloud and mud. The size of this hidden ground was thousands of times larger than that small world, and the space inside was incomparably stable. Chapter 16-17. In this hidden place, even Chu Fengmian could not tear the surrounding space and travel through space. One must know that Chu Fengmian had the bloodline of ancestor Jianwang. His control of space was not inferior to that of an ordinary half-step celestial realm expert. However, he still could not tear the space. This proved that even the five elements Saber Saint and even the young emperor could only use the conveyance light obediently in this Buddhist temple. Since they could not travel through space, the journey that took 2 hours in the 9 regions would take at least 6 to 8 hours in this Buddhist temple. There was only one person who could create such a strong space. That was the creator of the Pure Land sect, the Pure Land Buddha. After flying for 6 hours, when some of the 7 tribulations Emperor Gu began to run out of spiritual power, Hanye's conveyance light gradually slowed down. Ordinary Emperor Gu, even the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu, although the spiritual power in his body was strong, it was not endless. After continuously using the conveyance light to travel, he would need to rest. They did not have Chu Fengmian's divine meridians, which could replenish their spiritual power at any time. Hanyi led the Saint of the Holy Academy sect and descended. This was a valley, and it seemed that there was nothing special about it. Only when Chu Fengmian also descended with the Saint of the Five Spirits sect, the scene in front of Chu Fengmian suddenly began to change. Immediately, a golden Buddhist temple appeared. The entire valley was covered with restrictions. Even if Chu Fengmian was outside, he could not see the mystery inside. Chu Fengmian led the Saint of the Five Spirits sect and followed Hanyi to descend. There was already a group of warriors waiting below. There were about 100 warriors in this group. Almost every one of them was not weak. They were all Emperor Gu. Disciples of Qi Linshan? When Chu Fengmian descended, he saw clearly that this group of warriors in front of him were all disciples of Qi Linshan. In an instant, the expressions of Yan Hanshi and others behind Chu Fengmian changed involuntarily. Qi Linshan and the Sacred Dragon Mystery Domain were enemies. Qi Linshan had even issued the order to kill Chu Fengmian. Although Qi Linshan had yet to completely fall out with the Sacred Dragon Mystery Domain, it was almost certain that he would do so in the future. This time, the person Hanyi said to join hands with is actually Qi Linshan's disciple. Among this group of Qilin Mountain disciples, only a red-haired man caught Chu Fengmian's attention. This person was one of the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu. The aura on his body was no less than that of the little Jianwang Hanyi. He was an expert among the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu. Furthermore, this person was extremely young, at most 30 years old. Compared to forefather Jade Conch, he had a much brighter future. Perhaps this was the true peerless genius of the Qilin Mountain. This is... Chu Fengmian's eyes can't help but turn cold as he looks at Hanyi. Brother Chu, don't be nervous. This is young Master Huang from Qilin Mountain. He is also a good friend of mine. He will be following us to explore the Golden Body Buddha's tomb. Hanyi explained with a smile. At the same time, he descended beside the red-haired man and introduced him. This is Chu Fengmian. He is the Holy Son of the Holy Dragon sect in our Holy Dragon secret territory. He is the most dazzling newcomer. His strength is not ordinary. This time, I have invited him to join us to explore the Golden Body Buddha's tomb. Holy Dragon sect, Chu Fengmian? When young Master Huang heard this name, he looked at Chu Fengmian abruptly. There was a hint of hostility in his eyes. Brat, you are the one who killed Lin Lai. You ruined the marriage between our Qilin Mountain and the Five Spirits sect? There was a tinge of anger in young Master Huang's voice. His eyes seemed to be burning with flames as he spoke. Scorching heat emitted from young Master Huang's body. The surroundings seemed to turn into a sea of fire in an instant. An invisible pressure shrouded Chu Fengmian's body. Bloodline power? Phoenix bloodline? Chu Fengmian saw the change in young Master Huang's eyes and suddenly thought of a rumor. The phoenix was one of the most powerful divine beasts in the world. In the ancient times, its reputation was not inferior to the ancient war dragon tribe. The ancestor of the phoenix, ancestor Heavenly Phoenix, was also an innate divine beast like ancestor Tianwang. Therefore, it was said that the phoenix bloodline contained ancestor Tianwang's bloodline. Its strength was extremely powerful and no one could contend with it. It was said that the most powerful part of the phoenix was its eyes. Phoenix golden eyes. Wherever the eyes looked, it could burn the true flame of the phoenix and burn all the enemies to ashes. The true flame of the phoenix was not inferior to the pure sun heavenly fire. Just the phoenix golden eyes alone were extremely terrifying. The eyes of young Master Huang were extremely similar to the phoenix golden eyes in the rumor. This person actually possessed the phoenix bloodline, which was not inferior to Chu Fengmian's ancient war dragon bloodline. Of course, Chu Fengmian's current bloodline power had far surpassed young Master Huang's phoenix bloodline. Chu Fengmian had already transformed a part of his bloodline into the ancient dragon emperor bloodline. Compared to young Master Huang's phoenix bloodline, it was much more powerful. It was ridiculous to think that young Master Huang could suppress Chu Fengmian with his bloodline power. That's right. I killed Lin Lai. Chu Fengmian did not care and said coldly. This person dares to have designs on my Dao companion. He deserves to die. Do you know that Lin Lai is my junior brother? Young Master Huang looked at Chu Fengmian's expression and said viciously without fear. You want to follow us to explore the tomb of the Golden Body Buddha? Let's see if you are qualified to do so. As young Master Huang spoke, he suddenly took action. His body did not move but his eyes suddenly flickered. Beside Chu Fengmian, there were countless golden flames burning. True flame of the phoenix. Rumble. Countless true flame of the phoenix burned beside Chu Fengmian, turning into a sea of fire and devouring Chu Fengmian. Young Master Huang's eyes were the real golden eyes of the phoenix. Wherever his eyes looked, there was a sea of fire. This was the power that came from the phoenix bloodline. When the golden eyes of the phoenix was activated, it was silent and impossible to guard against. A moment of carelessness could cause one to fall into the sea of fire and be consigned to eternal damnation. You want to test my strength? Chu Fengmian's eyes were cold and he sneered as he looked at the flames. Suddenly, Chu Fengmian moved. Above Chu Fengmian's head, the battle dragon claw was formed and swept down. The sea of fire was destroyed. Others might be afraid of the true flame of the phoenix but Chu Fengmian had the ice fire divine body. Wherever the battle dragon claw swept, the true flame of the phoenix was extinguished. Then I want to test if you are qualified to do so. After the battle dragon claw swept the surrounding true flame of the phoenix, it immediately changed its direction and attacked young Master Huang. Chapter 1618. After neutralizing Master Phoenix's attack, Chu Fengmian suddenly attacked Master Phoenix. Master Phoenix was testing Chu Fengmian, but his moves were fierce. He suddenly activated his Phoenix Golden Eyes and attacked Chu Fengmian. Such a sudden attack was almost a sneak attack. It was hard for one to react. If there was a moment of hesitation, one could fall into an irrecoverable situation and be in danger of dying. With Chu Fengmian's eyesight, of course, he saw it clearly. Master Phoenix's action seemed to be testing Chu Fengmian's strength. In fact, his attack was fierce and he wanted to take Chu Fengmian's life. Since Master Phoenix was the one who initiated the attack, Chu Fengmian would not be polite. The battle dragon claw slammed down towards young Master Phoenix from the sky. Quietly, it contained the profoundness of the primogenitor's first move. However, Chu Fengmian had purposely changed it so that it looked like a mysterious dragon race martial skill. He wanted to confuse Master Phoenix and little Jianwang Hanyi. Master Phoenix was fine, but little Jianwang Hanyi was after all a disciple of the sacred dragon mystery dimension. He might have heard about the 9 moves of the primogenitor. Chu Fengmian did not want to expose it. Of course, even if Chu Fengmian had displayed 50% of the power of the primogenitor's first move, it was already earth-shattering. Before Chu Fengmian entered the Buddhist temple, he had the strength to kill Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations. Moreover, after entering the Buddhist temple, he had obtained many fortuitous encounters and his strength had soared. Even if he displayed 50% of the power, it was almost enough to kill Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations. Master Phoenix's face changed. He did not expect Chu Fengmian to neutralize his Phoenix Golden Eyes so quickly. Now, Chu Fengmian had turned around and attacked him directly. The moment the power of the battle dragon claw descended, Master Phoenix felt the terrifying power contained in it. His bloodline power immediately erupted. A bird's cry resounded. Behind young Master Huang, an illusory figure of a phoenix appeared and shrouded young Master Huang's body. It was as though the phoenix had become one with young Master Huang. Suddenly, young Master Huang threw out a palm and collided with the descending war dragon claw. Boom! The two forces collided in the air. The battle dragon claw was destroyed immediately. However, young Master Phoenix wasn't any better off. He was swept away by the power of the battle dragon claw. The phoenix shadow behind young Master Phoenix swayed a little. Apparently, it was affected by the impact. In this exchange of blows, young Master Huang had suffered a small loss. After all, Chu Fengmian stood where he was and didn't make a move personally. He only used the battle dragon claw to deal with young Master Phoenix. Young Master Phoenix was forced to retreat and Chu Fengmian had the upper hand. With your strength, you dare to test me? You're courting death. Chu Fengmian looked at young Master Huang with a mocking look in his eyes. Damn it! Boundless anger appeared on young Master Huang's face. He looked at Chu Fengmian with bloodshot eyes that contained boundless killing intent. Brat, no one dares to mock me. You're courting death. Phoenix true body. Phoenix on strike. Young Master Phoenix's body changed and burned with boundless flames. In the flames, young Master Phoenix's body turned into a real phoenix. The Phoenix on strike that he displayed was one of the most powerful killing moves of the Phoenix tribe. It was comparable to the most mysterious dragon tribe martial skill. The blazing flames were concentrated on the finger of young Master Phoenix. They gathered crazily and released boundless energy towards Chu Fengmian. What a powerful strike! Young Master Phoenix is indeed one of the most dazzling talents of Qilin Mountain. His strength is really terrifying. Countless saints of Saint Academy sect and 5 spirits sect witnessed the scene and were amazed. Young Master Phoenix's strength had surpassed countless veteran 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu of Qilin Mountain. When the Phoenix on strike was displayed, even the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu would find it hard to resist. Just as everyone was amazed, Chu Fengmian moved. Facing the Phoenix on strike in young Master Phoenix's finger, Chu Fengmian didn't panic. He didn't retreat but took a step forward. The Dragon Emperor bloodline suddenly erupted in Chu Fengmian's body. Roar! A dragon's roar rang out. Chu Fengmian's body changed rapidly and turned into the appearance of a real ancient war dragon. In fact, at a glance, the current Chu Fengmian was even nobler than the primordial war dragon. His aura was faintly emitting the aura of a ruler. Although there wasn't much Dragon Emperor blood essence in Chu Fengmian's bloodline, it was enough to change Chu Fengmian's form. Primogenitor's second move. After turning into a dragon, Chu Fengmian gathered his strength on his right hand. A dragon claw attacked young Master Phoenix's finger. Since young Master Phoenix could activate the power of his bloodline, Chu Fengmian could too. In terms of bloodline, Chu Fengmian's bloodline was much nobler than young Master Phoenix's. Rumble! The power of the claw and the finger collided in the air. The entire valley was shaking. Countless holy sons retreated, fearing that they would be affected by the shockwaves. Young Master Huang could not help but take a step back after receiving the shockwaves. His eyes were filled with disbelief as he stared at Chu Fengmian. What bloodline do you have? Young Master Phoenix believed that his bloodline was one of the best in the current era. Even some of the diluted innate divine beast bloodline could not compete with his Phoenix bloodline. After all, young Master Phoenix possessed the complete Phoenix bloodline. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that he was a human-shaped phoenix. However, he was at a disadvantage in the confrontation with Chu Fengmian. The power of his bloodline was completely ineffective against Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian's bloodline was even stronger than his. Both of you, please stop. At this moment, little Jianwang Hanya's figure suddenly moved. He came between Chu Fengmian and Huang Gongzi, blocking the two who intended to continue to attack, and immediately opened his mouth to speak. Both of you are peerless geniuses from various forces. You don't have to fight to the death. The mausoleum of the Golden Buddha is more important. After saying this, little Jianwang Hanyi looked at young Master Phoenix and said with a smile. Young Master Phoenix, do you recognize Brother Chu's strength? Little Jianwang Hanyi came out to mediate. He could tell that with young Master Huang's current strength, unless he used his trump card, he would not be able to do anything to Chu Fengmian. This kind of trump card could only be used in a life and death battle. It was obviously not the right time. Chapter 16-19. I admire Brother Chu's strength. Master Huang saw little Jianwang Hanyi come out to mediate and took this opportunity to step down. Chu Fengmian's strength had exceeded his expectations. Even if he was not stronger than him, he would not be weaker than him. Unless he used his real trump card, it would be difficult to deal with Chu Fengmian. Master Huang was not a stupid person. Naturally, he did not want to be entangled with Chu Fengmian. However, after suffering such a huge loss, young Master Huang would not take it lying down. Master Huang looked at Chu Fengmian. The killing intent in his eyes did not weaken as he spoke to Chu Fengmian. The future is long. I will find Brother Chu another day to ask for an explanation for the death of my junior brother. You are welcome at any time. Chu Fengmian said indifferently. His face was indifferent. Chu Fengmian was too lazy to argue with Master Huang. With Master Huang's character, Chu Fengmian had slapped his face today. Master Huang would never let Chu Fengmian go. Sooner or later, he would be a disaster. However, there was no hurry to deal with Master Huang. Now was not the time to fall out. After all, there was little Jianwang Hanyi, who was staring at Chu Fengmian. If these two joined forces, Chu Fengmian might not be able to kill them. It was better to wait for a while. You! Master Huang saw Chu Fengmian's indifferent expression and could not help but show some anger. However, Han Yi, who was beside him, gave Master Huang a look. Master Huang did not refute Chu Fengmian. For the time being, this storm was calmed down. Since both of you have recognized each other's strength, we should not delay. Let's open the mausoleum of the Golden Buddha. Little Jianwang Hanyi came out with a smile on his face and gestured for them to go ahead. Chu Fengmian and Master Huang followed Hanyi to the entrance of the Golden Buddha Temple. As they approached the Golden Temple, several forbidding auras appeared all of a sudden. The Golden Temple seemed to be aware that someone was approaching it, as the forbidding formations and ancient runes began to appear on its surface. These restriction formations and ancient lines stopped about 10 feet away from Chu Fengmian and the others, condensing into a barrier. Unless one could break through the barrier, no one would be able to approach the Golden Temple. Buddhist restriction. It is said that the Buddhist restriction is very famous. Many restriction masters originated from the Buddhist sect. For example, our Qilin Mountains mountain protection formation contains the existence of Buddhist restriction. Young Master Huang walked over and looked at the barrier that had appeared. He sized it up and said slowly, I'm afraid the forbidding formation on it was created by an undefeatable expert. However, after so many years, the forbidding formation has started to decay. The power on it is less than 10% now. Brother Huang is very knowledgeable. That's right. Even if the restriction formation wasn't personally set up by the golden-bodied Buddha, it must have been set up by an invincible figure in the Buddhist sect. Little Jianwang Hanyi says with a smile. I've already taken a look at it. I'm afraid that only at least 10-9 Tribulations Emperor Gu can break this restrictive formation. It is precisely because of this that I specially invited the two of you here. With the strength of the three of us, together with the Five Spirits sect, Holy Academy sect, and Qilin Mountain, breaking this restriction shouldn't be a problem. After little Jianwang Hanyi finishes speaking, he suddenly looks at Chu Fengmian, who has been silent all this time. What do you think, Brother Chu? We'll do as you say. Chu Fengmian's face is indifferent as he says casually to Han Yi. The Golden Temple is right in front of him, and Chu Fengmian has no reason to give up. Moreover, Chu Fengmian can also see that this Golden Temple should be a Buddhist temple built by the Pure Land sect. It is incomparably ancient. Moreover, various ancient Buddhist Sanskrit characters appear on it, which can prove that the origin of this Buddhist temple is absolutely not fake. In today's era, even the experts in the Pure Land Star field may not have the ability to build such a Buddhist temple. Seeing that Chu Fengmian has no opinion, little Jianwang Hanyi says with a smile. Well, there's no time to lose. Let's join forces now to break the restriction of this Buddhist temple. After little Jianwang Hanyi finishes speaking, he shouts to the countless Holy Academy sects' holy sons behind him. All the Holy Academy sects' holy sons, attack together. Yes! The Holy Academy sects' holy sons shout in unison. They all urge their spiritual power, turning into a golden rainbow, and jointly bombarding the restriction above the golden temple. The power of hundreds of Emperor Gu bursts out at the same time, and so does Han Yi, displaying his peerless martial arts, bombarding the golden temple with a punch. Boom! The rainbow fist wind, containing an extremely powerful force, bombarded the golden temple and immediately collided with the restriction. Such a powerful force bombarded the restriction, but it could not shake the restriction. It could only create a ripple on it. Obviously, most of the force has been dissolved by this restriction barrier, and it is difficult to break it. Young Master Huang, Brother Chu, why don't you attack? Little Jianwang Hanyi hurriedly opens his mouth. He takes the lead to attack, also to prove that there is no trick in this. Holy Son of Qilin Mountain, attack! After young Master Huang sees this point, he does not hesitate to attack. The power of the Phoenix bloodline is fully activated, pointing at the Golden Temple. Countless disciples of Qilin Mountain also attack together, their spiritual power converging into a river, bombarding it. Attack! On the other side, Chu Fengmian also gives the order. The 5 spirit sects' holy sons attack together, the power of the 5 elements, turning into a divine light, bombarding the barrier of the Golden Temple. At the same time, Chu Fengmian also displayed the first move of the ancestor, turning into a dragon claw, bombarding the Golden Temple, heavily hitting the barrier. Chu Fengmian and young Master Huang, together with Emperor Gu of 5 spirits sect in Qilin Mountain, attacked together. The power that erupted was earth-shattering. When the power bombarded the barrier of the Golden Temple, the barrier of the Golden Temple could no longer withstand the bombardment of the power. Crack! Crack! Cracks began to appear all over the surface of the barrier. A series of crisp sounds indicated that the barrier had been broken. The barrier is going to be broken. Little Jianwang Hanyi suddenly shouted, as if he was raising something. In the next moment, the barrier was immediately broken. The moment the barrier was broken, 2 figures suddenly rushed towards the entrance of the Buddhist temple. Chapter 1620. These 2 figures were little Jianwang Hanyi and young Master Huang. The 2 of them suddenly joined forces and broke through the barrier. At the moment when the barrier was broken, they rushed toward the entrance of the Golden Body Buddhist temple. Brother Chu, it's not good. They want to rush into the temple first. Yan Hanshi, who was beside Chu Fengmian, said anxiously when he saw this scene. Everyone knew that in such a Buddhist temple full of treasures, whoever entered it first would be able to seize the opportunity and collect the treasures wantonly. Once they entered late, they were afraid that they would not even be able to drink the soup. Want to be one step ahead? Chu Fengmian saw the 2 figures and sneered. Without Yan Hanshi's reminder, Chu Fengmian immediately urged the phantom shadow body technique. Illusory shadows filled the sky. Chu Fengmian's figure shuttled back and forth and chased after the 2 figures. This person is so fast. Stop this person, don't let him enter first. Little Jianwang Hanyi and young Master Huang saw Chu Fengmian's figure chasing after them. Their faces changed and they talked at the same time. In an instant, a powerful spiritual power condensed from the palms of the 2 and bombarded Chu Fengmian. The power of these 2 people was not a killing move, but they wanted to send Chu Fengmian flying so that they could seize the opportunity to enter the temple and collect the treasures. The power of the palm immediately oppressed Chu Fengmian, wanting to send Chu Fengmian's body flying. However, Chu Fengmian didn't dodge this attack. He didn't even circulate his spiritual power. His body didn't stop at all as he rushed toward the entrance of the temple. He let the power of the palm hit Chu Fengmian's body. Boom! Chu Fengmian allowed the palm strike to strike his body. However, the power of the palm strike suddenly stopped when it was less than a meter away from Chu Fengmian's body. A transparent jade-colored barrier appeared on Chu Fengmian's body. It was the flesh crystal. The 129,600 blood and flesh crystals gathered together to form an invincible barrier. No matter how hard the palm hit Chu Fengmian's body, it couldn't shake the crystallized flesh. Chu Fengmian's speed did not decrease in the slightest. On the contrary, he sped up a little. In an instant, he surpassed the escaping light of little Jianwang, Han Yi and Master Huang. In the blink of an eye, they rushed into the Buddhist temple. This man's physical body is so strong. Seeing that Chu Fengmian had used his physical body to block their attacks, little Jianwang, Han Yi and young Master Huang's eyes were filled with surprise. However, when they saw Chu Fengmian's figure rushing into the temple, a cold smile appeared on their faces. It's good that his fleshly body is strong. This is the perfect opportunity for him to deal with those Buddhist restrictions. Little Jianwang, Han Yi sneered again and again. Just as I expected, this person still doesn't know that the Buddhist mausoleum is filled with traps and restrictions left behind by countless Buddhist experts. This golden Buddha used to be one of the famous war Buddhas in the Pure Land sect. There will be no shortage of restrictions and traps in this mausoleum. Let this person deal with some restrictions and traps for us to avoid trouble. Brother Han Ye's plan is good. Sure enough, you anticipated that this person would certainly take the lead and rush into this Buddhist temple. He's already taken the initiative, but I didn't think that this person could only be reduced to a chess piece for us, to charge and break through enemy lines for us. Young Master Huang laughed loudly. When he mentioned Chu Fengmian, he sneered. He remembered clearly how Chu Fengmian had slapped him in the face. Little Jianwang, Han Yi and young Master Huang had a plan. It seemed that the two of them wanted to enter the temple first, but in fact, it was just a feint. They wanted to use this to lure Chu Fengmian into the temple first to act as their cannon fodder to deal with the countless dangerous traps and restrictions in the temple. Has Brother Huang's fire been planted? Little Jianwang, Han Yi sneered. He suddenly lowered his voice and asked young Master Huang. Don't worry, I have already planted the phoenix fire seed in this person. As long as I activate it, this person will either die or be disabled. At that time, with the two of us joining forces, this person will undoubtedly die. Young Master Huang sneered. His face was incomparably sinister. When this person is exhausted, it will be the time for the two of us to join forces to snatch the treasure. Let's go, we should also enter, so as not to make this person suspicious. Little Jianwang, Han Yi nods his head and follows young Master Huang into the Buddhist temple. On the other side, the moment Chu Fengmian stepped into the temple, the golden light in the sky suddenly rushed toward Chu Fengmian. The golden light in the sky contained a strong and incomparable power. The oppression was no less than the weight of the mountains. Even with Chu Fengmian's physical body, it was difficult to resist. What a strong restriction. Chu Fengmian's eyes revealed a bit of dignity. He did not expect that there would be such a powerful restriction in the temple. Suddenly thinking of the actions of young Master Huang and little Jianwang, Han Yi, Chu Fengmian suddenly understood. The two of them seemed to want to rush in and seize the opportunity, but in fact, they were luring Chu Fengmian to rush into the temple. Such a powerful restriction, even if it was Chu Fengmian who dealt with it, it was incomparably troublesome and required a lot of energy. Even the slightest carelessness could be in danger of being injured by this restriction. I didn't expect the calculations of these two people to be so deep. I almost suffered a big loss. Chu Fengmian muttered in his heart. Looking at the emergence of the golden light in the sky, suddenly, from behind Chu Fengmian, countless sword chi flew out. Under Chu Fengmian's control, countless sword chi immediately struck in all directions. Countless ancient lines were broken by the sword chi. The endless golden light in the sky also completely dissipated, and the restriction collapsed. However, this restriction was just an ordinary restriction in the Buddhist temple. Chu Fengmian opened his spiritual awareness and scanned the surroundings. He found that in this golden temple, almost secretly, there were countless restrictions slowly spread. These restrictions, if one or two of them were triggered, they might be able to be resolved. If Chu Fengmian were to barge into this Buddhist temple and trigger a large number of restrictions, it was possible that he would die within. There were dangers everywhere in this Buddhist temple. Fortunately, I was careful. Chu Fengmian sensed the danger around him and could not help but sigh. After entering this Buddhist temple, Chu Fengmian deliberately slowed down his escape light and did not rush into the depths. If Chu Fengmian was anxious, he was afraid that the restriction triggered by Chu Fengmian would not be like this. At that time, it would be more difficult and dangerous for Chu Fengmian to resolve these countless restrictions. Chapter 1621. Although the restrictions in this Buddhist temple had experienced the passage of time, its power was less than 1/10. However, it was extremely difficult for even the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu to break this restriction. The slightest carelessness would lead to disaster. It seemed that little Jianwang Han Yi and Master Huang already knew this, which was why they deliberately let Chu Fengmian enter for the first time. They wanted to use Chu Fengmian to deal with the dangerous restrictions in this Buddhist temple so that they could reap the benefits. Good plan. Unfortunately, there is no one in the world who wants to scheme against me. Chu Fengmian smiled coldly and observed the surroundings. He was observing the various restrictions in the surroundings. Every restriction here was a pure Buddhist restriction, and its power was incomparably strong. Even if it was Chu Fengmian, it would take a lot of time to break all of them. However, from Chu Fengmian's right wrist, a stream of spiritual energy was suddenly injected into the Buddhist beads. This string of Buddhist beads also showed its original appearance. 10,000 Thoughts Buddhist Beads. Chu Fengmian obtained the 10,000 Thoughts Buddhist beads from Little Emperor Yan's empty ring. As a Buddhist treasure, this 10,000 Thoughts Buddhist beads contain the essence of Buddhist power. Although Chu Fengmian was not a Buddhist warrior and could not exert the Buddhist power, he could use this 10,000 Thoughts Buddhist beads to resist the Buddhist restriction power in this Buddhist temple. This kind of Buddhist restriction was originally used to defend against external enemies. Chu Fengmian injected a stream of spiritual energy into the 10,000 Thoughts Buddhist beads. Suddenly, the 10,000 Thoughts Buddhist beads showed its original crystal-clear appearance. A stream of spiritual energy condensed from the 10,000 Thoughts Buddhist beads enshrouded Chu Fengmian's body. In an instant, this stream of spiritual energy began to condense on Chu Fengmian's body and turned into a Buddhist light. It made Chu Fengmian look like a Buddhist warrior. Let's try it first. Chu Fengmian hid his breath and tried his best to show the Buddhist power. He quietly walked to the side and carefully approached the restriction on the side. Boom! This Buddhist restriction sensed someone approaching and immediately activated. Streams of golden light shrouded Chu Fengmian. However, Chu Fengmian found that the power of the golden light seemed to be much weaker than the one that burst out from the restriction just now. It was not even 1/10 of its power. It really works. Seeing this result, Chu Fengmian was overjoyed. His speculation was not wrong. This Buddhist restriction was indeed used to defend against external enemies. As for Buddhist sect cultivators, its might would be much weaker. After all, it was not only mausoleums. Some ancient Buddhist temples would also have a large number of Buddhist prohibitions. These Buddhist prohibitions were naturally not there to make things difficult for the Buddhist warriors inside, but to defend against external forces. Once these restrictions were set up, it would be enough to allow a large number of Buddhist disciples to evacuate when the Buddhist sect was in trouble, so that these restrictions could be used to block the enemy's attack. In the face of the power of Buddhism, the power of the restriction would be reduced to the minimum. The power of the golden light that surged over was at most comparable to a full-powered strike from the 8th Tribulation Emperor Gu. After all, this Buddhist restriction was an inanimate object. Therefore, it was difficult to determine whether Chu Fengmian was a real Buddhist warrior or not. When they felt the Buddhist light behind Chu Fengmian, they treated Chu Fengmian as a Buddhist warrior. This 10,000 chant Buddhist beads is really useful. No wonder little Emperor Yan could obtain the treasures in 3 of the mausoleums in such a short time. With this 10,000 chant Buddhist beads, dealing with these Buddhist prohibitions is simply a piece of cake. Chu Fengmian was overjoyed. Now, he had to thank the little Emperor Yan even more. If not for the little Emperor Yan's arrogance, he would have come to deal with Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian originally did not have the intention to kill the little Emperor Yan. It was impossible for Chu Fengmian to obtain this 10,000 chant Buddhist beads. This was really a great opportunity sent by the little Emperor Yan. Little Jianwang Han Yi and young Master Huang intended to let me be the vanguard to help them deal with the prohibitions. Unfortunately, they gave me the best opportunity. Looking at the little Jianwang Han Yi and young Master Huang who had not yet entered the temple, Chu Fengmian sneered again and again. The 2 of them intended to let Chu Fengmian and the numerous prohibitions in the temple fight until both sides suffered losses. Then, they would be able to seize the benefits. However, no matter how much they calculated, they did not expect that this 10,000 chant Buddhist beads was actually in Chu Fengmian's hands. Wait until I obtain the treasures in this temple, then I will deal with the 2 of them. Chu Fengmian's eyes were incomparably cold. The 2 of them actually dared to scheme against Chu Fengmian. Without this 10,000 chant Buddhist beads, Chu Fengmian would really suffer a great loss when dealing with these Buddhist prohibitions. Since they dared to scheme against Chu Fengmian, then the 2 of them must pay the price. Chu Fengmian opened up his spiritual sense and scanned the entire temple. In this temple, spiritual sense was also suppressed, but Chu Fengmian activated the 10,000 chant Buddhist beads. The suppression of these prohibitions on Chu Fengmian's spiritual sense was not that serious. At least within a radius of 30 miles, Chu Fengmian could still see clearly. A distance of 30 miles was enough for Chu Fengmian to find a path. It's this path. Chu Fengmian observed his surroundings and looked at one of the paths. There were countless paths in this temple, all leading to different places. The path that Chu Fengmian was looking at was the longest among all the paths. Even with a distance of 30 miles, his spiritual sense could not explore it. The end of the path was the path that led to the depths of this temple. After determining the path, Chu Fengmian's figure flashed and walked towards this path. In this temple, Chu Fengmian did not dare to use his spiritual power easily. After all, these prohibitions relied on the aura of spiritual power to distinguish between friend and foe. Now, Chu Fengmian was relying on the power of the 10,000 chant Buddhist beads to weaken the power of these prohibitions. Once he used his own power, his identity would certainly be exposed. However, without spiritual power, the power of these prohibitions would be difficult to hurt Chu Fengmian with just his physical body. Chu Fengmian walked step by step into the temple. Chu Fengmian did not intend to destroy those Buddhist prohibitions. Instead, a cold smile appeared on Chu Fengmian's face. These prohibitions were a big gift that Chu Fengmian left for little Jianwang Han Yi and young Master Huang. Whoosh! Even if Chu Fengmian relied on the power of his physical body, his speed was not slow. He immediately passed through the path, passed through countless prohibitions, and walked towards the depths of the temple. After a long time, 2 figures stepped into the temple. They were little Jianwang Han Yi and young Master Huang. Chapter 1622. It seems that this person has really entered the depths of this Buddhist temple. Little Jianwang Han Yi observed the spiritual power left behind by Chu Fengmian, and his face showed a bit of coldness. This person's strength is extremely tyrannical. Look at the restriction around here, it has been broken. Young Master Huang also showed a bit of a sneer. Just let this kid explore the actual situation in this Buddhist temple. Let's go, we'll follow him. Little Jianwang Han Yi observed the spiritual power around him and walked towards one of the passages. He saw that Chu Fengmian had already entered this passage when he came out. Just as the 2 of them stepped into the passageway, a burst of spiritual energy suddenly burst out. The golden light in the sky, like a river, bombarded little Jianwang Han Yi and young Master Huang. Restriction? Why is there still a restriction? Little Yaowang Hanyi and young Master Huang saw the sudden burst of golden light in the sky, and they were stunned. They thought that Chu Fengmian had opened the way in front of them and had already broken all the restrictions. They did not expect that there were still restrictions. So when the two of them just stepped into this side of the passage, they were bombarded by this restriction. Against foreign enemies, this Buddhist restriction would not have any mercy. Its power burst out completely. The golden light in the sky turned into a long river, containing this surging power, bombarding the bodies of the two people. Phoenix real body. True martial fist. The two of them were nervous, and they hurriedly made a move. They urged the spiritual power in their bodies and launched countless killing moves, bombarding this restriction. After fighting for several minutes, the Buddhist restriction was finally broken by Han Yi and young Master Huang. However, both of their complexions were incomparably unsightly. The sudden activation of this restriction was unexpected to the two of them, so that they did not have much time to react. They hurriedly responded. Although the restriction was always broken by the two of them, it also consumed a large amount of their spiritual power. In this Buddhist temple, they were suppressed by the power of Buddhism everywhere. It was extremely difficult to restore spiritual power. Damn it, we were tricked by this little beast. Little Yaowang Hanya's face was extremely ugly. Seeing the remnants of the restriction, he understood that the two of them were tricked by Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian had purposely lured the two of them into the passageway so that they would have a hard time fighting against the forbidding aura inside. Didn't this kid take this passage? Then where did he go? Young Master Huang's face was also extremely ugly. On his chest, there was a scar left. Apparently, he suffered some injuries when he fought against the restriction. Although this injury was nothing to him, he was still infuriated by Chu Fengmian's trick. Don't worry, that little beast is still in this Buddhist temple. Let's go back. We will search through the passage by passage. I don't believe we can't find that little beast. These restrictions, even if they went all out, were difficult to deal with. Now it seemed calm, but once they got close, the power above the restriction would completely erupt. It was precisely because he was afraid of these Buddhist restrictions that he intended to let Chu Fengmian take the lead. Go back. Young Master Huang also shouted coldly. The two of them left this passage and went back to check other passages. Chu Fengmian certainly did not leave the Buddhist temple. Since Chu Fengmian was not in this passage, he must have entered another passage. The figures of little Yaowang Hanyi and young Master Huang once again entered another passage to look for Chu Fengmian's trace. The restriction has been triggered. On the other side, Chu Fengmian, who was in the passage, also noticed that the restriction had been triggered and produced spiritual power fluctuations. The corners of his mouth could not help but reveal a sneer. These two people intended to let Chu Fengmian deal with the restrictions so that they could reap the benefits. How could it be so easy? Chu Fengmian went all the way into the depths of the Buddhist temple. Along the way, he did not destroy any of the restrictions, so that these restrictions could block Han Yi and young Master Huang. The two of them, no matter how much they calculated, did not expect that the 10,000 thoughts Buddhist beads was in Chu Fengmian's hands. So much so that Chu Fengmian could pass through this passage by relying on his physical body and withstand the bombardment of countless Buddhist restrictions. First find the treasure in this Buddhist temple, then deal with the two of them. Chu Fengmian put away his thoughts and once again walked into the depths of the Buddhist temple. On the other side, at the entrance of the Buddhist temple. How is it possible? Why are the restrictions on that path still intact? Where did that little bastard run off to? Little Yaowang Hanyi and young Master Huang, both of them, were now covered in dirt. They looked battered and exhausted, and there were even a few scars on their bodies. The two of them had already inspected the countless passages in the temple, but the forbidding aura in each passage was still intact. Although the two of them were already very careful, they still triggered several of the restrictions, so that they ended up in such a sorry state. Did that little bastard run away? Young Master Huang also said in disbelief. Impossible, this child escaped. We will definitely be aware of it outside. He must be in this Buddhist temple. Little Jianwang Hanyi shook his head. Just when Chu Fengmian entered the Buddhist temple, the two of them were standing outside the entrance of the Buddhist temple, waiting. It was impossible for Chu Fengmian to escape under the eyes of the two of them. Moreover, he did not believe that Chu Fengmian would choose to give up such a treasure. Then where did this little bastard run to? I can't feel this person's breath anymore. Young Master Huang said in a cold voice. Perhaps that person died in the hands of that restrictive formation, and did not even leave behind a corpse. Little Jianwang Hanyi thought for a moment and said. But when he said it, his tone was not so firm. After all, even if he was dead, Chu Fengmian's breath would not completely disappear, but now they really could not detect Chu Fengmian's breath. But now Chu Fengmian's breath had completely disappeared, and the restrictions in any passage were not broken. Chapter 1623. Don't worry about that little bastard for now. Looking at the restriction in the temple, it should be as we have guessed. This is the mausoleum of the Golden Buddha. With our strength, it's difficult to deal with the Buddhist restriction. Little Jianwang Hanyi looked at the restriction in each passage, and his eyes revealed a bit of haze. Obviously, he was also frightened by the power of these Buddhist restriction. Master Huang also nodded and immediately said, "Let's go." Didn't the group of bald donkeys from the Pure Land Star Field want to join forces with us? Let's go find them. They have a way to deal with the restriction. Two figures quietly disappeared from the temple. The two of them have left. Unfortunately, the two of them were too cautious. They did not use the restrictions in this temple to directly kill the two of them. Chu Fengmian, who was in the depths of the temple, had been urging his spiritual sense to observe the movements of little Jianwang Hanyi and Master Huang. Watching them leave, he could not help but shake his head. Chu Fengmian deliberately lured the two of them into a passage. He wanted them to die in the hands of these Buddhist restrictions. If the two of them were careless and rushed into the depths of the passageway in one breath and triggered several restrictions, they might be killed by the Buddhist restriction power on the spot. However, these two people were cautious. Although they were lured by Chu Fengmian, they were still careful and only triggered one Buddhist restriction. Although the Buddhist restriction was powerful, it was difficult for one of them to cause too much damage to little Jianwang Hanyi and Master Huang. Now, after suffering a big loss, they knew the power of the Buddhist restriction and retreated. Their spiritual sense was suppressed by the restriction in the temple, so they could not detect the existence of Chu Fengmian. However, Chu Fengmian was able to use the power of the 10,000 thoughts Buddhist beads to clearly observe their every move. The conversation of these two people was heard by Chu Fengmian. The departure of these two people did not surprise Chu Fengmian. On the contrary, it was within Chu Fengmian's expectations. Even if Chu Fengmian forcibly attacked the restriction in the temple, it would be extremely difficult, and he would probably be seriously injured. The strength of little Jianwang Hanyi and Huang Gongzi is still not Chu Fengmian's opponent. Naturally, they don't dare to meet force with force. After witnessing the power of the restriction, they would naturally contact the others. But what Chu Fengmian didn't expect was the candidate that young Master Huang mentioned. Pure Land Starfield. I didn't expect Master Huang to be in contact with the Pure Land sect. The Pure Land Star area used to be a part of the Pure Land School. It was said to be a branch of the Pure Land School. With the decline of the Pure Land sect, the Pure Land Star Field became synonymous with Buddhism. The Pure Land Star Field was filled with Buddhist warriors. The various restrictions in the Buddhist temples were only effective against external enemies, but not against Buddhist warriors. Once they had the help of the martial artists of the Pure Land Star Field, it would be easy for the little Jianwang Hanyi and Master Huang to deal with the Buddhist prohibitions in this Buddhist temple. Chu Fengmian used the prayer beads to easily enter the depths of the temple. If the Buddhist warriors of the Pure Land Star Field really came, they would not only resolve the prohibitions, but also borrow the power of some of the Buddhist prohibitions. Let's go. Let's get the treasures in this Buddhist temple first. Chu Fengmian's figure flickered, and he advanced into the depths of the Buddhist temple. Even if Chu Fengmian only relied on his physical body, he had now crossed a distance of 50 miles. the surrounding Buddhist prohibitions became more and more complex and mysterious. All this proved that Chu Fengmian was about to reach the core of the Buddhist temple. This should be the center of the Buddhist temple in front. Chu Fengmian walked for half an hour, and finally, an ancient golden gate appeared in front of him. This golden gate was just closed, but from the gap of this golden gate, Chu Fengmian could see countless dazzling lights emitted from it. Even the golden door was unable to completely seal off the treasure light within. Chu Fengmian was at most 5 miles away from the golden gate. With Chu Fengmian's eyesight, he could clearly see the ancient Sanskrit engraved on the golden gate. However, Chu Fengmian did not dare to relax in the last 5 miles. His nerves were tightly shut, and all his spiritual power was restrained. He tried his best to activate the power of the prayer beads, and shrouded Chu Fengmian's body with the Buddhist light. The deeper he went into the temple, the more powerful the Buddhist prohibitions became. Now, there were at least 3 or 4 prohibitions around Chu Fengmian, and each of them was enough to easily kill a 9 tribulations Emperor Gu. Chu Fengmian passed through the countless prohibitions, and with the power of the prayer beads, he could resist them. However, he did not dare to relax. Once he leaked a little bit of his aura, the power of these Buddhist prohibitions would be fully activated. At that time, Chu Fengmian would fall into an extremely dangerous and irrecoverable situation in the blink of an eye. Chu Fengmian could only take 1 step at a time to cover the last 5 miles. There were still 4 miles, 3 miles, 2 miles. Chu Fengmian walked step by step, clearly calculating the distance to the golden gate in front of him. Rumble! At this moment, all the prohibitions in the temple suddenly burst into a dazzling light. At this moment, the entire Buddhist temple seemed to have been resurrected from a state of decay. Surging Buddhist power began to condense within the temple. What's going on? Someone broke into the temple and can awaken the power of the temple. Could it be that the warriors of the Pure Land Star Field have come? Chu Fengmian's face suddenly changed. Now in the temple, the person Chu Fengmian was most afraid of was not little Yao King Han Yi, nor Master Huang, but the Buddhist warriors of the Pure Land Star Field. The sudden change in the temple could only be the arrival of the Buddhist experts of the Pure Land Star Field. Let's go! Chu Fengmian made a prompt decision and quickened his pace. At the same time, from the entrance of the Golden Temple, 3 figures stepped into it. Little Yao King, Master Huang, you have a good opportunity to open the mausoleum of our Buddhist sex war Buddha, the Golden Buddha. At the same time, from the entrance of the Golden Temple, 3 figures stepped into it. 2 of the figures were very familiar to Chu Fengmian. They were little Yao King Han Yi from the Saint Academy sect, and Master Huang from the Qilin Mountain. Chapter 1624. The purity of this Buddha's light was many times purer than the Buddha's light condensed by Chu Fengmian's 10,000 chant beads. On this young man's body, there was even a glaze-like color, which did not look like a physical body. Glazed golden body. It was said that this was the most powerful physical body refining method in Buddhism. When the physical body was refined to the extreme, it would show a glaze-like color. The moment little Yao Wang Hanya and Master Huang saw the glaze-like light emitted from this young man's body, they both trembled. Both of their gazes were filled with deep fear. However, no one showed it. Monk Xuanluan, do you have the ability to dissolve the prohibition in this temple? Master Huang was the first to speak to the Buddhist martial artist called Monk Xuanluan. In Buddhism, only those who had stepped into the half-step celestial realm and above were qualified to be called Buddha. For example, although this young man's strength was not below Master Huang and the others, he could only be called a monk, not a Buddha supreme. Of course I have the ability to dissolve the prohibition of my Buddhism, but you 2 benefactors must remember your promise. Monk Xuanluan glanced at the various prohibitions in the temple and said with a smile. Don't worry, we will keep our promise. Little Yao Wang Hanya said with a cold snort. He agreed without hesitation, but there was still some reluctance in his eyes. In order to ask Monk Xuanluan to help, they agreed to give half of the treasures in the Golden Body Buddhist temple to him. Only then did they ask Monk Xuanluan to help. However, at this point, they had no other choice. The golden-bodied Buddha's temple had already opened. Although it had not been discovered yet, it would be discovered by others sooner or later. When other experts found out, the two of them would lose everything. In contrast, paying half of the price was much easier to accept. That's good. Hearing little Jianwang Hanya's words, monk Xuanluan nodded immediately and immediately operated his spiritual power. Behind monk Xuanluan, a dazzling Buddha's light soared into the sky and shrouded the whole temple. In the blink of an eye, the powers of the countless Buddhist seals were weakened by multiple folds. It was as though the entire Buddhist temple was under the control of this Xuanluan monk. All of a sudden, the face of the reincarnation monk changed drastically. What happened? Young Master Huang noticed this and asked hastily. Someone is in this Buddhist temple. Furthermore, this person has already gone deep inside. The Xuanluan monk's expression kept changing. Excitement could be seen in his eyes as he thought to himself. The 10,000 chant Buddhist beads. It's actually the 10,000 chant Buddhist beads, a supreme treasure of the Buddhist sect. No wonder this person could evade the Buddhist seals here. He actually obtained this supreme treasure. There's someone in the temple? Have they already gone deep inside? When Master Huang and little Jianwang Hanyi heard this, their faces suddenly changed. Their faces were incomparably gloomy. Is it that little bastard Chu Fengmian? What should we do? This person has already entered the depths. We must not let him obtain the golden-bodied Buddha's treasure. Don't worry, it's impossible for him to steal the treasures of our Buddhism sect. The Xuanluan monk snorted coldly and activated his spiritual power. Suddenly, the Buddhist light that shrouded the entire Buddhist temple changed. The moment each of the Buddhist seals came into contact with the Buddhist light, they suddenly shone brightly. The power within it was completely unleashed. In an instant, all the Buddhist forbidding auras in the temple were activated. The sky was filled with golden light, converging into an ocean that devoured everything in the Buddhist temple. Oh no, this person can actually control the Buddhist seals in the Buddhist temple? Just as Chu Fengmian was carefully walking towards the ancient golden gate, all of a sudden, the silent seals in the surroundings were activated. Rumble! The power of these seals was activated to the extreme. At this moment, all of their power erupted at the same time. They turned into streaks of golden light that filled the sky. Like a golden river, they bombarded Chu Fengmian. Not only the Buddhist seals around Chu Fengmian, but all of the seals in the entire Buddhist temple were activated. Regardless of friend or foe, they bombarded everything in the surroundings. In an instant, Chu Fengmian understood. It was likely that the Buddhist martial artist of the Pure Land Star Field had already sensed Chu Fengmian's existence. Now, he deliberately activated all of the Buddhist seals with his spiritual power. He intended to use these Buddhist seals to bombard Chu Fengmian to death. In the blink of an eye, the river of golden light that filled the sky rushed toward Chu Fengmian, wrapping him up in an instant. Each streak of golden light contained a terrifying power that bombarded Chu Fengmian's body. This time, no matter how Chu Fengmian activated the power of the myriad chant beads, he could not stop the bombardment of the seals. All of the Buddhist seals in the Buddhist temple were activated. Just around Chu Fengmian, there were 4 Buddhist seals that attacked Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian's body sank into the golden river. He felt as if his body was about to be torn apart. Damn it, the power of these Buddhist seals is really troublesome. Chu Fengmian's face was incomparably cold. He was just a little bit away from the ancient golden gate. He did not expect such a sudden change. Chu Fengmian's body flickered again and again. Surging spiritual power rushed out from his body. Battle Dragon Bloodline, Immortal True Body, Divine Tree Phantom. Extremely tyrannical power erupted from Chu Fengmian's body. Since the myriad chant beads had lost their effect, Chu Fengmian no longer hid his strength. All kinds of power erupted. Chu Fengmian suddenly waved his hand and the power of the battle dragon began to condense in his palm. Suddenly, he exerted force and tore the space in front of him. With a loud bang, he struck out with the power of the second move of the primogenitor. the tyrannical power tore a crack in the golden river around them. Chu Fengmian's figure flashed, and suddenly drilled out of the crack that was torn open. However, even more streams of golden light chased after Chu Fengmian. There were Buddhist seals everywhere in the Buddhist temple. Even if Chu Fengmian escaped, there were still more Buddhist seals waiting for him. The entire passageway was filled with the golden river formed by the power of Buddhism. There was almost no place for one to stand. Chu Fengmian's gaze swept across the surroundings. In an instant, Chu Fengmian's gaze landed on the ancient golden door. Immediately, his figure moved and rushed towards the ancient golden door. Chapter 1625. If Chu Fengmian wanted to leave the passageway, he would have to withstand the bombardment of countless Buddhist seals. Instead of escaping, it would be better for him to rush into the golden door. Chu Fengmian made up his mind and his body flickered continuously. Chu Fengmian no longer needed to hide his aura. A surge of spiritual energy erupted and his speed was pushed to the extreme as he rushed toward the ancient golden door. Above Chu Fengmian's head, the power of the ancient war dragon gathered and transformed into a war dragon claw that tore at the golden river in front of him. The war dragon claw swept across and tore open a passageway for Chu Fengmian to pass through. In an instant, Chu Fengmian arrived in front of the ancient golden door. There was a huge formation engraved on the ancient golden door. However, the formation was extremely decayed and many of the formation eyes on it had lost their power. The power it contained was less than 10% of its original power. Any formation would only be able to unleash its full power when it was at its most perfect state, with all the formation eyes present. Even if there were only a few of them missing, the power of the formation would be greatly weakened. Chu Fengmian sized up the formation on the golden gate and immediately let out a long howl. Sword out. Behind Chu Fengmian, the world's edge sword casket opened and countless sword chi flew out. Countless sword chi gathered and transformed into a sword radiance that was 100 feet long. It bombarded the ancient golden door. It began to attack the formation on the ancient golden door. The sword radiance bombarded the ancient golden door. The two forces collided violently and created a huge commotion. Spiritual energy fluctuations were transmitted out. The entire Buddhist temple shook slightly. Interesting. He didn't die. At the entrance of the Buddhist temple, monk Jianwang, who had been activating the seals, suddenly raised his head. He had also sensed the spiritual energy fluctuations in the Buddhist temple. There was a look of surprise in his eyes. He was extremely shocked and his eyes were rolling. No one knew what he was thinking. It seemed that he had not expected that he would not be able to kill Chu Fengmian even after activating all the Buddhist seals in the Buddhist temple. What? Chu Fengmian didn't die. Master Huang, who was standing aside, heard monk Xuanluan's muttering and his face changed. He had been staring at the passageway of the Buddhist temple. All the Buddhist seals had erupted and turned into a golden river. Even young Master Phoenix could not help but shudder when he saw the power of the golden river. If he were to enter the river, he would definitely die. It would be easy to deal with one of the Buddhist seals. However, at that moment, all of the Buddhist restrictions were activated. Practically at all times, they would be bombarded by 4 or 5 Buddhist restrictions simultaneously. Even under such a terrifying attack, Chu Fengmian was still alive. What should we do? Wang, Hanya's face, little longs to look worried. Now, Chu Fengmian's strength was already very troublesome for them. If Chu Fengmian obtained the treasure of the golden-bodied Buddha, it would be a disaster. Xuanluan twos. Ants twos. To kills twos. And kills to kill to SSS. Monk Xuanluan's aura gradually calmed down. The Buddhist light that he emitted also condensed and returned to his back. Both of you, follow me. Whoosh. Monk Xuanluan took a step forward and stepped into a passageway. The Buddhist seals in the passageway were activated. However, once they came into contact with the Buddhist light behind monk Xuanluan, they retreated. The Buddhist seals in the passageway were suppressed by monk Xuanluan. The three of them were unimpeded in the passageway. In an instant, Chu Fengmian felt 3 rays of light rushing towards him. The Buddhist seals in the passageway could not stop the 3 of them. Just as Chu Fengmian's sword Qi was about to break the ancient golden door, the 3 rays of light had already closed in. Little Wang, Master Huang, Monk Xuanluan. Chu Fengmian looked at the 3 of them with cold eyes. He did not expect the 3 of them to be so fast. They dared to rush over before Chu Fengmian broke the ancient golden door. Behind the ancient golden door, there was a treasure artifact that contained countless treasures. As Chu Fengmian attacked, he broke many of the formation eyes on the ancient golden door. There were many cracks on the ancient golden door. Rays of mystical glow were emitted from the cracks. The 3 of them also noticed the countless rays of treasure light that were emitted from the cracks on the ancient golden door. Their eyes were full of greed. Chu Fengmian, I did not expect you to be alive. Unfortunately, even if you have many tricks up your sleeve, you can't escape death today. Little Wang Hanya stared at Chu Fengmian with boundless killing intent in his eyes. Holy Dragon Sect is a malignant tumor in the Holy Dragon secret dimension. It will be eradicated sooner or later. Today, I'll kill you first to eradicate this disaster. In the Holy Dragon secret dimension, Holy Academy Sect and Holy Dragon Sect had been enemies for thousands of years. There was a deep grudge between them. Little Wang Hanya was on good terms with Chu Fengmian previously because he wanted to make use of Chu Fengmian. Now that Chu Fengmian was no longer worth making use of, little Wang Hanya might as well shed all pretense of cordiality with Chu Fengmian. Brother Hanya, don't talk nonsense with this person. The young Heaven Master of Avalon of 5 Elements has also given this person a handsome reward. If we kill him, we can get a lot of benefits from the young Heaven Master. Master Phoenix stared at Chu Fengmian with an extremely cold gaze, as if he was looking at a dead man. With his pride and arrogance, he still remembered how he had suffered a great loss in the fight with Chu Fengmian. You want to kill me? Just the 2 of you? Hearing their conversation, Chu Fengmian's expression calmed down. Originally, Chu Fengmian had planned to take all the treasures in the mausoleum of the golden-bodied Buddha before dealing with the 2 of them. However, it seemed that Chu Fengmian's plan had failed. It was the same to kill the 2 of them first. After Chu Fengmian finished speaking, he suddenly turned his head and looked at Monk Xuanluan. Monk, you also plan to kill me? Compared to this little Yao Wang Hanyi and Huang Gongzi, Chu Fengmian was even more fearful of Monk Xuanluan. Judging from his aura, Monk Xuanluan's strength was not weaker than little Wang Hanya and Master Phoenix. The fact that he could join forces with the 2 of them was enough to prove his strength. Chapter 1626. If this Monk Xuanluan was a weakling, then this Monk Xuanluan would not be qualified to join forces with little Yao Wang Hanyi and young Master Huang. If Chu Fengmian's strength was not on the same level as Hanyi and young Master Huang, the 2 of them would not have schemed against Chu Fengmian. They would have killed Chu Fengmian at that time. The most important point was that Monk Xuanluan was a Buddhist martial artist. Just now, he had suddenly activated the Buddhist restriction in the temple and brought great trouble to Chu Fengmian. It was impossible to tell how many remaining forbidding auras and formations there were left in the temple. If this Xuanluan monk was able to control all of these Buddhist seals and formations, he would definitely be able to do so. In this temple, Monk Xuanluan was much more of a threat to Chu Fengmian than Han Yi and young Master Huang combined. Chu Fengmian fixed his gaze on the Xuanluan monk, observing his every move. Chu Fengmian had already activated the power in his body to the extreme. As long as Monk Xuanluan made any move, Chu Fengmian would be able to attack at any time. Kill? We Buddhists never kill the innocent. I only want one thing from you. As long as you hand over the 10,000 thoughts Buddhist beads, I will not interfere in the feud between you 2. Monk Xuanluan stared at the Buddhist beads on Chu Fengmian's right wrist and said slowly. These 10,000 thoughts Buddhist beads are items of the Buddhist school to begin with. Almsgiver, by obtaining them, you are merely blaspheming them, and will be punished by the Buddhist school. Only by handing over the 10,000 thoughts Buddhist beads will you be able to wash away your sins. Wash away my sins. You want this 10,000 thoughts Buddhist beads? A Buddhist item? Monk, you don't have to pretend to be sanctimonious. Buddhist monks are just like the records. They are all sanctimonious villains. Chu Fengmian sneered when he heard monk Jianwang's words. The 10,000 thoughts Buddhist beads was the only treasure on Chu Fengmian that could resist the Buddhist prohibition. Without this 10,000 thoughts Buddhist beads, it would be difficult for Chu Fengmian to escape from the temple. If Chu Fengmian were to hand over the 10,000 chant Buddhist beads, the Jianwang monk could activate the power of a few seals and kill him. It was impossible to make Chu Fengmian hand over the 10,000 chant Buddhist beads. Really? Since you don't know what's good for you, I'll have to do it myself. Hearing Chu Fengmian's rejection, monk Jianwang's eyes flickered with golden light. He was enraged. Behind him, an ancient Buddha shadow appeared. The power of Buddhism gushed out. Both of the reincarnation monk's hands moved continuously. All of a sudden, the power of Buddhism gathered in his palms and turned into a gigantic Buddha seal that blasted towards Chu Fengmian. True Buddha suppressing seal. The moment Chu Fengmian saw monk Jianwang striking out, he immediately understood what was going on. The move that monk Jianwang had executed was the famous suppression killing skill of Buddhism. Within the ancient Buddhist sects, experts were as common as clouds. Many powerful Buddhist techniques were recorded in ancient books and circulated throughout the 9 regions. The true Buddha suppressing seal was one of them. It was said that once it was activated, it could easily kill a martial artist of the same realm. Although it was not an immortal technique, it was comparable to one. It was said that the creator of the true Buddha suppressing seal was a Buddhist ancestor. The power of this move was comparable to the first 3 levels of the 9 mysterious immortal technique. Although it was not an immortal technique, it had already surpassed the scope of ordinary martial techniques. This move was one of the supreme killing moves in Buddhism. Chu Fengmian did not expect monk Jianwang to be able to use this move. It seemed that monk Jianwang was definitely a big shot in the Pure Land Star field. It was highly possible that he was a super genius comparable to the Holy Dragon Secret Dimensions leader. The moment the true Buddha suppressing seal blasted down, Chu Fengmian felt that his body began to tremble under the power of the palm. Waves of spiritual energy had already shrouded Chu Fengmian's body. It was difficult for Chu Fengmian to mobilize his spiritual energy to defend himself. The suppression killing skill was to suppress before killing. The moment the Buddha seal blasted down, Chu Fengmian's body was under great pressure. He was about to be suppressed by this force. Sword out. 9 mysterious swordsmanship. Tanlang. Giant door. Lu Tsuan. Tianji. Chu Fengmian roared. The ancestral dragon supreme sword suddenly appeared in Chu Fengmian's hand. The moment Chu Fengmian held the spiritual sword, a towering sword essence erupted from Chu Fengmian's body. The Buddha light that was suppressing Chu Fengmian was completely destroyed. Stars appeared in the sky. The power of the stars condensed on the sword in Chu Fengmian's hand. Suddenly, the sword soared into the sky. Chu Fengmian did not hold back. In an instant, he struck out the first 4 moves of the 9 mysterious swordsmanship. The dazzling sword radiance flashed. The power of the stars condensed and turned into a long river of stars. Countless sword chi condensed in it and collided with the true Buddha suppressing seal. The power of the true Buddha suppressing seal was comparable to the first 3 moves of the 9 mysterious immortal technique. But now, Chu Fengmian had already comprehended the 4th move of the 9 mysterious immortal technique, Tianji. The 4th move of the 9 mysterious immortal technique had truly broken away from martial skills and stepped into the category of immortal technique. When the first 4 moves of the 9 mysterious swordsmanship collided with the true Buddha suppressing seal, the power of the true Buddha suppressing seal was immediately destroyed. The force of the collision forced the Jianwang monk to retreat a few steps back. After the reincarnation monk was forced to retreat, several sword chi slashed towards the reincarnation monk. However, when the sword chi slashed the reincarnation monk's body, the reincarnation monk's body suddenly emitted a glazed light. The body of the reincarnation monk had transformed into a crystalline, glass-like body. When the sword chi slashed the reincarnation monk's body, it was unable to shake the reincarnation monk's body. Instead, the sword chi was shattered by the rebounding force. Diamond glazed body. When Chu Fengmian saw the diamond glazed body on the reincarnation monk's body, he could tell that it was one of the most mysterious secret techniques of Buddhism, the diamond glazed body. Chu Fengmian had once killed a demonic puppet. That demonic puppet had cultivated the diamond glazed body when it was alive. However, the diamond glazed body cultivated by that demonic puppet was obviously far from being comparable to the reincarnation monk's. The diamond glazed body of the reincarnation monk had already shown a glaze color. It was obvious that it had reached the great accomplishment stage. According to the rumors, the diamond glazed body was close to the immortal real body when it reached the great accomplishment stage. Even though the reincarnation monk had not cultivated the diamond glazed body to the extreme, the sword chi that was as powerful as the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu's full force attack could not break the reincarnation monk's body. Chapter 1627. What is the background of this monk? True Buddha suppressing seal and Vajra glazed body are secret techniques from different branches of ancient Buddhism. Only Buddha Supremes with high status are qualified to cultivate one of them. How could this monk cultivate both? Chu Fengmian frowned when he saw the glazed color on the monk's body. Both the true Buddha suppressing seal and Vajra glazed body were secret techniques of high level and belonged to different branches of Buddhism. Even Buddha Supremes with high status would find it difficult to cultivate both at the same time. However, the monk in front of him had cultivated both secret techniques. Moreover, whether it was the true Buddha suppressing seal or the Vajra glazed body, this person had already cultivated these two secret techniques to an extremely high level. The monk definitely had a high status in Pure Land Star field. Otherwise, he wouldn't be qualified to cultivate so many profound secret techniques of Buddhism at the same time. There might be some trouble if he killed this monk. However, Chu Fengmian wasn't afraid of any trouble at this point. The monk had stood out to be Chu Fengmian's enemy. He had almost tricked Chu Fengmian and caused him to fall into eternal damnation. Even if the monk had a shocking background, Chu Fengmian had to kill him today. The murderous intent in Chu Fengmian's eyes grew stronger. On the other side, the monk who was forced back by Chu Fengmian's sword was extremely shocked. Immortal art. This is the power of an immortal art. The power of the true Buddha suppressing seal was almost invincible against an immortal art. However, the true Buddha suppressing seal was broken by Chu Fengmian's sword. The sword just now was almost as powerful as an immortal art. It was already extremely shocking for an 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu to be able to use an immortal art. The power of an immortal art was strong, but it was also very demanding on the comprehension of martial Tao. For an ordinary 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu, even if they had obtained an immortal art, they wouldn't be able to use it. After all, only when one's comprehension of martial Tao had reached the level of celestial being could he use an immortal art. The fact that Chu Fengmian could use an immortal art proved that his martial Tao was comparable to the celestial being realm. Martial Tao comprehension of celestial being realm. Little Jianwang Hanyi stared at Chu Fengmian. He could also see the mystery of Chu Fengmian's swordsmanship. Little Jianwang Hanyi among the saints in the sacred dragon secret territory was the one with the highest martial Tao comprehension. Although he didn't get the power inheritance, his martial Tao comprehension of martial Tao was no less than King Jianwang. Therefore, he was called Little King Yao. However, even the former King Yao did not comprehend martial arts to the level of the celestial realm. Chu Fengmian was martial Tao in front of him. Monk. All of a sudden, little Jianwang Hanyi let out a long howl. The spiritual power in his body exploded, condensing on his fist. He immediately punched towards Chu Fengmian. At the moment of this punch, a shadow appeared behind little Glory King Hanya's back. This shadow was tall and mighty, and every move contained the ultimate martial intent. The power contained in the shadow was almost exactly the same as the power contained in little Jianwang Hanye's body. When he punched out, it was as if little Jianwang Hanye and the shadow behind him were attacking together. Two forces erupted from this punch at the same time, and immediately bombarded Chu Fengmian. This shadow was none other than King Jianwang. Little Jianwang Hanye had inherited King Jianwang's inheritance, and his martial Dao was no less than that of the former King Jianwang. As the punch blasted out, the whole passage was filled with the surging power of martial Dao. He wanted to use this martial intent to kill Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian saw this punch containing the ultimate martial intent, but his expression did not change. He held the spirit sword in his hand, and nothing in the world was enough to make Chu Fengmian afraid. The moment the fist approached, the sword in Chu Fengmian's hand moved, and a sword light soared into the sky. The moment the sword light flashed, the bloody smell of Ning Lai immediately erupted. Sword Art of Slaughter. The moment Chu Fengmian struck out this sword, he was like the incarnation of an ancient god of slaughter. Under this sword, everything was destroyed. Chu Fengmian didn't know how many experts and enemies he had killed along the way. All of his killing intent erupted at this moment, condensing on the sword, and striking out this sword Art of Slaughter. The blood-red sword light was thousands of feet long, enveloping the whole passage. The moment little Jianwang Hanye's fist of glory collided with the sword Art of Slaughter, it was immediately broken, and the force of the rebound forced little Jianwang Hanye to retreat. After repelling little Jianwang Hanye with one move, Chu Fengmian had no intention of letting him go. These three people were a disaster for Chu Fengmian. If he could kill one of them, Chu Fengmian's pressure would be reduced a lot. During the pursuit, Chu Fengmian's body flickered again and again. Suddenly, another sword light struck out, aiming directly at little Jianwang Hanye. Commandment Mantra. Monk Xuanluan suddenly appeared in front of Chu Fengmian, blocking Chu Fengmian. In his mouth, countless ancient Sanskrit words were recited. These ancient Sanskrit words, as Monk Xuanluan recited them, condensed in the air, and formed an ancient array, immediately oppressing Chu Fengmian's body. Chu Fengmian felt that the spiritual power in his body was somewhat disobedient under the pressure of the array condensed by the Sanskrit words. Even Chu Fengmian's mind was now in chaos, and there was a trace of unusual panic. These ancient Sanskrit words were actually enough to suppress Chu Fengmian's power, and even disturb Chu Fengmian's cleansing. What a powerful mantra! No wonder it's said that Buddhist martial artists are good at bewitching people. In ancient times, countless experts were suppressed by this mantra. Even with my Tao heart, I was somewhat affected. Chu Fengmian's mind moved, and he also realized the power of this mantra. Chu Fengmian had lived 2 lives, and his Tao heart was stable to an unimaginable degree. Back then on Heart Scar Peak, the king of inner demons could not disturb Chu Fengmian's Tao heart, and was instead subdued by Chu Fengmian. Just talking about Tao heart, Chu Fengmian was not inferior to even a celestial immortal. But even so, the moment he heard the Buddhist mantra, Chu Fengmian felt a little flustered, and his spiritual power was suppressed. This was the Buddhist mantra of the Xuanluan monk. If one was caught off guard and was not prepared for it, the Xuanluan monk's Buddhist mantra would be extremely powerful. Even the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu might be affected by this Buddhist mantra, lose his mind, and become a slave of Buddhism. Chapter 1628. In the ancient times when the Pure Land sect still existed, countless experts were bewitched by the mantra and became slaves of Buddhism. Even Chu Fengmian almost fell for it. However, this was also because it was the first time Chu Fengmian heard the mantra of Buddhism and was unprepared. If he had been prepared, the mantra would not have been able to shake his Tao heart. Trying to bewitch me with the mantra of Buddhism? Break my Tao heart? What a joke! No one in the world can break my Tao heart. Chu Fengmian snorted coldly. After he put down his guard, the trace of panic in his mind dissipated in an instant. Chu Fengmian's spiritual energy that was restrained was also completely released. At the same time, Chu Fengmian suddenly opened his mouth and roared. What came out of Chu Fengmian's mouth was not human language, but a dragon's roar. This dragon's roar was incomparably noble. Even the roar of a real ancient war dragon could not be compared to it. 8 Tianlong notes. With the purity of Chu Fengmian's bloodline, the power of the 8 Tianlong notes was not inferior to the dragon's roar of a real war dragon. The dragon's roar was enough to destroy all ghosts and demons. How can this person's Tao heart be so strong? My mantra can't even affect him. Monk Xuanlong was shocked to see Chu Fengmian wake up so quickly. With his mantra of Buddhism, even Emperor Gu of the 9 Tribulations could be directly affected if he was not prepared. Even if he was prepared, his Tao heart would be affected. As long as his Tao heart was broken, he could take advantage of the chaos to strike and kill with one blow. However, he did not expect Chu Fengmian to wake up immediately after being affected for only a moment. The firmness of Chu Fengmian's Tao heart was beyond Monk Xuanlong's expectation. He was already close to Chu Fengmian. He wanted to take the opportunity to launch a sneak attack on Chu Fengmian and kill him with one blow. Now, Chu Fengmian suddenly reacted. With a dragon's roar, the ancient Sanskrit characters formed by the mantra of Buddhism beside Chu Fengmian were immediately shattered and scattered in the air. Oh no! The moment Monk Xuanlong caught sight of the countless ancient Sanskrit characters being broken, his face changed as he retreated hurriedly. However, it was too late. The power of Tianlong's 8 melodies gathered in the air and blasted towards the Xuanlong monk. Like a dragon claw, the attack landed heavily on the Xuanlong monk's chest. The moment the Tianlong's 8 melodies collided, a glassy light burst forth and neutralized 90% of the power of the Tianlong's 8 melodies. However, even though it was only 10% of his strength, it was still a huge blow to the Xuanlong monk. Bang! The Xuanlong monk's body was sent flying. His face was pale and the spiritual energy in his body was in a mess. Even though he wasn't severely injured, the Wheel of Reincarnation monk had consumed a large amount of spiritual energy to withstand this attack. Great freedom, Nirvana rebirth. The Xuanlong monk roared out in rage. Behind him, a patch of nothingness appeared as a massive amount of energy of the Buddha sect gathered around his body. The injuries on his body were gradually recovering under the continuous flow of Buddhist energy. This Xuanlong monk can actually absorb the energy in this Buddhist temple to recover from his injuries? Chu Fengmian's face darkened when he saw this. This Buddhist temple was filled with an unimaginable amount of Buddhist energy. If the Xuanlong monk could continue to absorb the Buddhist energy within this Buddhist temple to recover from his injuries, he would definitely be able to do so. The Xuanlong monk could be said to be immortal in this Buddhist temple. Unless Chu Fengmian could destroy all the Buddhist energy in this Buddhist temple. However, that was almost impossible. The Xuanlong monk was extremely tough to deal with. He was extremely powerful. If they were outside, Chu Fengmian might have a chance to kill him. However, in this Buddhist temple, Chu Fengmian's chances of killing the Xuanlong monk were close to zero. I have to think of a way. After Chu Fengmian forced the Xuanlong monk to retreat, he didn't follow up with another attack. Instead, he looked around and thought of a countermeasure. Young Master Huang, little Jianwang, how about we join forces to kill this man? On the other side, the Xuanlong monk recovered from his injuries and looked at Chu Fengmian again. However, this time, he didn't attack again. Instead, he spoke to young Master Huang and little Jianwang Han Yi. In a one-on-one battle, he had already suffered a great loss when fighting with Chu Fengmian. Naturally, he didn't want to fight with Chu Fengmian alone. Alright. Let's attack together. Little Jianwang Han Yi and young Master Huang looked at each other and nodded at the same time. They gathered their spiritual power and immediately bombarded Chu Fengmian. The two of them originally planned to sit on the mountain and reap the benefits. This time, they asked the Xuanlong monk to attack. They had offered a reward of 50% of the treasures in the mausoleum of the golden-bodied Buddha. Therefore, from the beginning, the two of them didn't plan to attack. They just sat there. However, now that they saw that the Xuanlong monk was no match for Chu Fengmian, they immediately changed their minds. Their enemy was still Chu Fengmian. They had heard of Chu Fengmian's character. Once, Chu Fengmian dared to flatten 2 sects in the Sacred Dragon Mystery Dimension for the sake of Luo Kang, a disciple of the Sacred Academy sect. He even became an enemy of the higher-ups of the Sacred Dragon Mystery Dimension. Revenge must be exacted. Today, they had already shed all pretense of cordiality with Chu Fengmian. If they let Chu Fengmian leave alive, they would be the ones to die. Supreme Martial Artist. Little Jianwang Hanya's figure flickered. On his fist wind, ancient power gathered. The aura of little Jianwang Hanyi was completely different from before. Little Jianwang Hanyi was able to become the leader of the Holy Sons of the Sacred Academy sect. He was even able to compete with the young lord of the Sacred Academy sect, Wu Dao. His strength was naturally not that simple. The last time he made a move, it was just a test. This time, what he displayed was little Jianwang Hanya's strongest move. Ancient. Middle Ages. Ancient. Boom. Little Jianwang Hanyi let out a long roar. On his fist wind, different powers from 3 eras were condensed. This was a punch formed by gathering the martial Tao of 3 eras. It was a punch at the peak of the martial Tao. You do have some strength. Chu Fengmian saw this fist bombarding toward him. He also saw that this fist was completely different from the strength that little Jianwang Hanyi had just displayed. However, no matter how mysterious his fist technique was, Chu Fengmian broke it with a sword. Chu Fengmian raised his sword and immediately displayed a sword light. This sword light soared into the sky and turned into a sky full of sword shadows. In this sky full of sword shadows, each sword shadow contained a completely different power. When the sword slashed out, it was as if 10,000 sword techniques were launched at the same time. Chapter 1629. The 9-region sword technique that Chu Fengmian had created recorded the countless sword techniques that he had comprehended in his second life. In his previous life, Chu Fengmian had learned all the sword techniques of the Sword Dao sect and integrated them into his heart. 10,000 years later, Chu Fengmian had left the 9 regions. Many of the sword techniques in the Daluo star field were lost in the 9 regions. Even Chu Fengmian had never seen them before. Without exception, these sword techniques had been condensed into the 9-region sword technique by Chu Fengmian. Now, Chu Fengmian's sword slashed out. It was the 9-region sword technique's 10,000 sword technique that had been released at the same time. The 10,000 sword technique was mysterious and different. The power of many sword techniques was incompatible with each other. Even a dazzling genius would find it difficult to comprehend so many sword techniques all at once. However, the 10,000 sword technique that Chu Fengmian had released didn't have the slightest conflict. Instead, they complemented each other. The 10,000 sword technique collided with little Jianwang Hanya's fist in the air. Among the 10,000 sword technique, there were many sword techniques that came from incomparably ancient eras. Little Jianwang Hanya's fist could be said to have condensed all the martial arts from the ancient, middle and ancient eras into his fist. The power of this fist surpassed the ancient era. As for Chu Fengmian's sword, it was not at a disadvantage either. It was a sword made from the best swordsmanship of every era. Boom! The two forces were in a stalemate in the air. How can this person know so many sword techniques? Even the most dazzling sword genius wouldn't dare to learn so many sword arts. Many of these sword arts were incompatible with each other. If they were to learn all of them at the same time, they would only be digging their own grave. Edited by Lifer, Fingerfox. How is this possible? Little Jianwang Hanya was in disbelief when he saw Chu Fengmian's 10,000 sword technique. It wasn't difficult to find the 10,000 sword technique, whether it was in the Sacred Dragon's secret domain or in a force like Qi Linzhan. From tens of thousands of years ago to the current era, who knew how many sword techniques had been left behind? However, even if there were so many sword techniques left behind, no one dared to cultivate them all. This was because the sword will and many sword techniques were completely different. Once they were cultivated at the same time, it would conflict with one's body. If it was light, he would suffer a backlash. If it was serious, he he might even go berserk and die. Martial artists who had once tried to cultivate a large number of swordsmanship martial skills, without exception, had all ended up in their own deaths. Even cultivating hundreds of sword arts with similar sword intents was extremely difficult. After all, cultivating countless sword arts at the same time would definitely cause distractions. It was almost impossible to achieve great success. Just like the little Jianwang Hanyi in front of him. His martial arts aptitude was extremely high, but what he cultivated was the invincible tyrant martial way. Other than that, he had no other martial arts. Now, Chu Fengmian is actually using 10,000 different sword techniques at the same time. This is simply beyond little Jianwang Hanyi's understanding. In particular, there were many conflicting forces in the 10,000 sword arts. However, when Chu Fengmian struck it out, the 10,000 sword arts became extremely powerful. These two sword techniques, which were like fire and water, could actually be used together. They even complemented each other. This person is really too monstrous. How is this the second Yunzun? This is much more terrifying than Yunzun. The killing intent in little Jianwang Hanyi's eyes was even more intense. The former Yunzun, no matter how monstrous, was also within common sense. But now, Chu Fengmian's swordsmanship was already beyond common sense. No martial artist would dare to practice countless sword arts in large numbers like Chu Fengmian. This was no longer a human being, but a monstrous genius. A monstrous genius that should not exist in this world. Overlord of the firmament. Little Jianwang Hanyi's eyes flickered. Suddenly, his figure moved again. His power condensed on his fist wind. Suddenly, another punch blasted towards Chu Fengmian. At the moment of this punch, little Jianwang Hanyi suddenly spat out a large mouthful of blood essence. The moment this blood essence was spat out, it burned fiercely. Strong and pure spiritual power condensed on the fist wind of little Jianwang Hanyi, and he once again blasted towards Chu Fengmian. From behind him, little Jianwang's shadow also punched at the same time. One person and one shadow. Two fist winds, one from the left and one from the right, blasted towards Chu Fengmian. Buddha's wrath. Boom! Above Chu Fengmian's head, Monk Xuanluan also made a move. His body was boiling with anger, burning with golden flames. Under this anger, it was as if it was enough to punish all living things in the world. He turned into a real Buddha, and his anger turned the world upside down. The billowing anger turned into a Buddha's seal, aimed at Chu Fengmian, and fell from the sky. Master Phoenix was not to be outdone. At this moment, the bloodline power in his body was fully activated. His whole body turned into a real phoenix. Two incomparably huge phoenix claws blasted towards Chu Fengmian. Master Phoenix, Monk Xuanluan, and little Jianwang Hanyi, these three famous geniuses from different forces, joined forces at this moment and launched an attack towards Chu Fengmian. The attacks of the three were like an inescapable net, sandwiching Chu Fengmian in it. Now, Chu Fengmian had no way to retreat. Boy, your death today is a foregone conclusion. If you want to blame someone, blame it on your arrogance. Master Phoenix stared at Chu Fengmian and laughed ferociously. The strength of the three of them was among the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu, and they were all incomparably powerful existences. With the three of them joining forces, even if the 5 elements Saber Saint, who was half a step away from the celestial being realm, came, he might not be able to gain any advantage. Of course, if the real 5 elements Saber Saint came, the three of them would not even have the chance to join forces, and would be killed by the 5 elements Saber Saint. Although Chu Fengmian's strength was strong, he had not reached the level of half a step away from the celestial being realm. This gave the three of them an opportunity to attack at the same time. When the three of them attacked, all of them unleashed their killing moves. Especially little Jianwang Hanyi, he did not hesitate to burn his own essence and blood to increase the power of his punch by 3 times. Every drop of the essence and blood of the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu was incomparably noble. Even if a part of it was burned, it would require an amazing adventure to have the chance to make up for it. This little Jianwang Hanyi was willing to pay such a high price to kill Chu Fengmian. This proved how much he wanted to kill Chu Fengmian. Little Jianwang Hanyi's gaze was also fixed on Chu Fengmian. He also wanted to see the moment when Chu Fengmian was killed. In his eyes, Chu Fengmian was already a dead man. Chapter 1630. To make the three of us join forces, you can die without regrets today. Little Jianwang Hanyi sneered at Chu Fengmian. For Chu Fengmian, it was a dead end. No matter how many opportunities there were, the gap between the realms was difficult to make up. 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu was after all an 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu. No matter how many opportunities there were, Chu Fengmian would definitely die if the three of them joined forces. The three of them joined forces. Fist Wind, Buddhist Seal, and Claw Attack. The moment the three forces approached Chu Fengmian, a terrifying power shrouded him. Even a 9 Tribulation Ancient Emperor could be killed instantly under the pressure of the aura. Under the shroud of these three forces, Chu Fengmian's face became extremely dignified. The strength of any one of these three people was extremely terrifying. When the three of them joined forces, their strength could not be controlled to an incredible extent. Unless it was a half-step celestial being, it was difficult for anyone to contend against the three of them. Power of the Divine Tree. Bless my body. Bloodline of the Dragon Emperor. Ancient Dragon Emperor body. Immortal real body. Roar. A dragon's roar came out from Chu Fengmian's back. The power in his bloodline broke out to the extreme at this moment. On Chu Fengmian's body, the pure dragon power turned into dragon scales. Each dragon scale was like the eye of an array, forming an ancient array. Behind Chu Fengmian, the shadow of the divine tree emerged. On Chu Fengmian's skin, flesh and blood crystals appeared. 129,600 flesh and blood crystals gathered together to protect Chu Fengmian's body. When the three forces bombarded him, Chu Fengmian held the spiritual sword in his hand and suddenly soared into the sky. One sword breaks the firmament. Boom! The sword aura was 10,000 feet long. As the sword soared into the sky, it had the power to tear the world apart. At the moment when Chu Fengmian drew his sword, Master Huang's lips curled into a sneer. World-extinguishing phoenix flame. Rumble. From Chu Fengmian's chest, countless red flames suddenly gushed out. World-extinguishing phoenix flames. When young Master Huang and Chu Fengmian were exchanging blows, the world-extinguishing phoenix flame was quietly used. All this while, it had been hidden in Chu Fengmian's chest. Young Master Phoenix had been waiting for this moment. In Chu Fengmian's most dangerous situation, the world-extinguishing phoenix flames had suddenly erupted, almost wiping out Chu Fengmian's last ray of hope. Pooh! Chu Fengmian's figure was forced back again and again. Although the world-extinguishing phoenix flame wasn't enough to kill Chu Fengmian, it still caused him to be seriously injured. In an instant, Chu Fengmian's face turned incomparably pale. The power of the sword qi was also much weaker than before. Crack! They collided. This strand of sword qi was unable to withstand a single blow from the combined forces of these three forces. There was no stalemate. The tens of thousands of sword qi was immediately destroyed. The three forces bombarded Chu Fengmian's body at the same time, setting off countless explosions. Chu Fengmian's body shook violently. These three forces didn't just want to destroy Chu Fengmian's physical body, they also wanted to destroy all of Chu Fengmian's blood essence. Among them, the Buddha seal that monk Xuanluan had struck Chu Fengmian's body. The blood essence in Chu Fengmian's body started to be destroyed under this force. This kid is dead. Young Master Huang sneered when he saw this scene. Chu Fengmian's physical body had already been damaged by more than half in an instant. His physical body would definitely be destroyed. Moreover, monk Xuanluan was still aiming for Chu Fengmian's blood essence. Once Chu Fengmian's blood essence was destroyed, Chu Fengmian would die no matter how capable he was. I'm dead? You think you can kill me with just the three of you? All of a sudden, Chu Fengmian's laughter resounded in the midst of the bombardment. There wasn't any hint of panic in his laughter. Instead, he was extremely confident, as if he hadn't fallen into a hopeless situation. This kid is still being stubborn? He really doesn't know what death is. Hearing Chu Fengmian's laughter, little Jianwang Hanya's face turned gloomy. He threw another punch at Chu Fengmian. I'd like to see how long you can hold on. Boom! Another punch came down. Chu Fengmian's voice suddenly became dull. It was as if he couldn't hold on under this huge force. Little Jianwang Hanyi, Monk Xuanluan and young Master Huang's faces all revealed smiles. Young Master Huang was the first to take a step forward. Suddenly, he rushed towards Chu Fengmian and grabbed Chu Fengmian's right hand. Young Master Huang's target was Chu Fengmian's empty ring. Chu Fengmian had such strength. He must have obtained many treasures in the 9 regions. The treasures in Chu Fengmian's empty ring would not be few. Young Master Huang was the first to have such thoughts. He took advantage of the moment when little Jianwang Hanyi and Monk Xuanluan had yet to take action. He suddenly took action to snatch Chu Fengmian's empty ring. Young Master Huang. Seeing young Master Huang suddenly take action, little Jianwang Hanyi and Monk Xuanluan's faces changed. They also saw through young Master Huang's thoughts. Their faces were extremely gloomy and they didn't have time to stop him. Young Master Huang's body had already rushed in front of Chu Fengmian. This kid's empty ring is mine. Young Master Huang sneered and reached out his hand to grab it. But at this moment, a palm suddenly blasted out. Chu Fengmian, who was stagnant and seemed to have fallen, suddenly took action. This palm was fast, like a sharp sword, suddenly bombarding young Master Huang. In such a fast situation, young Master Huang didn't have time to react. Chu Fengmian's palm bombarded his chest. You! Young Master Huang didn't have time to say anything. The power in Chu Fengmian's palm condensed and suddenly hit young Master Huang's chest. Young Master Huang's body immediately exploded. Essence and blood spurted out all over the sky. Chu Fengmian was already prepared. The moment he blasted out his palm, the sky-devouring secret skill had already appeared on young Master Huang's body. Not a single drop of young Master Huang's essence and blood was left. All of it was devoured by the sky-devouring secret skill. As the sky-devouring secret skill was activated, young Master Huang's consciousness was completely obliterated. His essence and blood were turned into pure spiritual power and poured into Chu Fengmian's body. Young Master Huang's bloodline was incomparably pure phoenix bloodline. The bloodline was noble and the power it contained was not comparable to the essence and blood of ordinary martial artists. Chapter 1631. Master Phoenix was one of the most dazzling geniuses in Qilin Mountain. He had already stepped into the realm of the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu. He was invincible among the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu. He had a promising future and was a super genius who could step into the half-step celestial being realm. But now, he was killed by Chu Fengmian. Even young Master Huang himself could not have imagined that he would fall in such a manner. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. Chu Fengmian's attack was too fast. Young Master Phoenix didn't even have time to say his last words. Jiu Yu had already been destroyed by Chu Fengmian. Young Master Phoenix's body was immediately destroyed by Chu Fengmian. His essence blood was immediately absorbed and refined by Chu Fengmian. The Phoenix bloodline was one of the most noble bloodlines in the world, comparable to the ancient battle dragon bloodline. It even contained some of the power of the primordial divine beast, Sky Phoenix. After Chu Fengmian devoured Master Phoenix's blood essence, 200 drops of the battle dragon blood essence in his body immediately devoured the power of the Phoenix bloodline and turned into the Dragon Emperor blood essence. Chu Fengmian's figure flew out from the explosion. There was no injury on Chu Fengmian's body. Under such a bombardment, he was unscathed. You, why didn't you die? Little Jianwang Hanyi waited until the essence blood of young Master Huang had been refined by Chu Fengmian. Then, as if waking up from a dream, he reacted. The scene just now was almost beyond his imagination, causing him to be unable to react in time. He was stunned. Now, little Jianwang Hanyi looked at Chu Fengmian, who was unscathed. He could not imagine that such a terrible bombardment was unscathed. In little Jianwang Hanyi's view, Chu Fengmian was already dead. The three of them had joined forces and forced Chu Fengmian into a desperate situation. If little Jianwang Hanyi was the one who resisted the joint bombardment, he would have died. Even a half-step celestial being realm expert could not bear such a terrible bombardment. Even if Chu Fengmian did not die under the bombardment, he should at least be seriously injured. But now, Chu Fengmian was unscathed and had even killed young Master Phoenix with a single strike. It was as if the person who had just been attacked by the three of them wasn't Chu Fengmian. The smile on Monk Xuanluan's face froze. He had always been a cautious person. However, when he saw Chu Fengmian in a hopeless situation, he immediately changed his mind. There was no doubt that Chu Fengmian was going to die. Even if he took 10,000 steps back, Chu Fengmian had suddenly made a breakthrough and stepped into the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu. Under such a terrifying attack, he could only die. Now, Chu Fengmian was completely unscathed. This was something that the two of them could never have imagined even in their wildest dreams. Moreover, young Master Huang had already died in the hands of Chu Fengmian. Initially, the three of them had besieged Chu Fengmian. Now, there were only two of them left. Little Yao, Wang Hanya, and Monk Xuanluan's face revealed an incomparably grim expression. While the two of them were amazed, Chu Fengmian was also amazed. This rottenwood is really amazing. It's a pity that this rottenwood can't be devoured by the divine tree. Otherwise, the divine tree would have increased its strength by a lot after devouring this rotten wood. Chu Fengmian couldn't help but sigh. The last wisp of lignification on his body was completely removed. The moment when he was besieged by the three of them, Chu Fengmian suddenly activated the rotten wood that he had taken from Ancestor Bai Luo's hands. He used lignification of his body to withstand the joint attack of the three of them. No matter how strong Chu Fengmian's body was, he would be seriously injured if he didn't die from such a bombardment. Therefore, Chu Fengmian suddenly thought of the piece of rotten wood that he had taken from Ancestor Bai Luo's hands. Chu Fengmian had seen the magic of that piece of rotten wood. Ancestor Bai Luo used this piece of rotten wood to lignify his body. Even Chu Fengmian couldn't kill him. He was invincible. Once one's body was lignified, it was enough to increase the enormous life force contained in the rotten wood, making one immortal. Chu Fengmian had borrowed the power of the rotten wood. When the three of them joined forces to attack Chu Fengmian, his body had turned into wood. Although his body had been torn apart, he had recovered from his injuries in the blink of an eye by relying on the enormous vitality of the rotten wood. Therefore, he was able to withstand the attack without suffering any injuries. However, although the rotten wood was magical, it also had a great flaw. First, once one's body was lignified, they couldn't attack or move. When facing a strong enemy, using the power of the rotten wood was just waiting for death. Second, the life force in the rotten wood wasn't endless. Every time it was activated, it had to wait for a long time. It could only be used again when the life force in it recovered. The power of the joint attack of the three of them had almost completely exhausted the life force in the rotten wood. As a result, the rotten wood couldn't be used anymore. Even so, the rotten wood could save Chu Fengmian's life at a critical moment. It was definitely a rare treasure. This time, Chu Fengmian also borrowed the power of the rotten wood to escape a disaster. He even took the opportunity to lure Master Phoenix over. He was careless and was killed by Chu Fengmian in one blow. With Master Phoenix's strength, it wasn't easy for Chu Fengmian to kill him. However, when Master Phoenix rushed in front of Chu Fengmian and wanted to seize Chu Fengmian's empty ring, Chu Fengmian had already treated Chu Fengmian as a dead man. He didn't have any defense against Chu Fengmian. He just wanted to take a step forward and monopolize Chu Fengmian's empty ring. In the end, Chu Fengmian suddenly attacked and killed him with one blow. After killing Master Phoenix, the pressure on Chu Fengmian was greatly reduced. Chu Fengmian looked at the remaining little Yao, Wang Hanya, and monk Xuanluan. His eyes were full of killing intent. If it wasn't for the rotten wood, Chu Fengmian might have died here. After all, it was in this Buddhist temple. Even if Chu Fengmian wanted to activate the Jianwang change and escape, it would be extremely difficult. Once he entered the passage, he would have to bear the bombardment of countless Buddhist prohibitions. Whether he escaped or not, it was a dead end. He was almost forced into a desperate situation. Chu Fengmian didn't want to let these two people go. Chu Fengmian's cold eyes moved between Little Yao, Wang Hanya, and monk Xuanluan. Finally, Chu Fengmian's eyes locked on Little Yao, Wang Hanya. Monk Xuanluan was an unkillable cockroach in the Buddhist temple. Chu Fengmian didn't want to be entangled with him. However, Little Yao, Wang Hanya, didn't have an immoral body. Monk Xuanluan, Chu Fengmian could let him go today, but Little Yao, Wang Hanya, must die today. Chapter 1632. Sword out. Heaven and earth split. A sword light soared into the sky, and the world seemed to be torn apart by this sword. When Chu Fengmian's eyes locked on Little Yao Wang Hanya, he did not speak any nonsense and directly attacked. Ancestral Dragon Supreme Sword and Titanic Divine Sword, the two swords came out at the same time, and two distant sword lights. One tore the sky, the other shattered the earth, and everything was shaken to pieces, heading towards Little Yao Wang Hanya. Little Yao Wang Hanya, from the first time he met Chu Fengmian, he had been scheming against him. If it weren't for Chu Fengmian's outstanding strength, he would have almost fallen into the hands of this Little Yao Wang Hanya. There was no reason not to kill for this kind of hatred. Ultimate Martial Tao, Overlord of the Firmament. Invincible Tao, Overlord of the Firmament. In the face of Chu Fengmian's two sword lights, Little Yao Wang Hanya did not dare to relax. He immediately used all his strength and all his trump cards. From his body, the endless power of the Overlord emerged. The power of the Overlord condensed into a great Tao under his feet. This great Tao was the supreme invincible Tao of the Overlord throughout the ages. Little Yao Wang Hanya, the moment he stepped on this invincible great path, his aura was invincible. No one in all the heavens was his opponent. Even in the face of Chu Fengmian, he did not have any fear. The power of the Overlord condensed on his fist, and he blasted out a punch, colliding with the sword edge. Little Yao Wang Hanya cultivated the way of the Overlord, and he must have an invincible heart. As long as his invincible heart was not broken, he was invincible and had never been defeated. Even the death of Master Huang did not shake his Tao heart. In the face of Chu Fengmian's attack, he brazenly counterattacked, and the power of this punch was not only to resist Chu Fengmian's sword edge. The power of it was directed at Chu Fengmian, and it wanted to kill Chu Fengmian instead. The way of the Overlord, the invincible heart. Chu Fengmian saw that at this moment, this Little Yao Wang Hanya unexpectedly didn't panic at all, and brazenly counterattacked. He also gasped in admiration. It seemed that Little Yao Wang Hanya's tyrant martial way had indeed been cultivated to an extremely high level. He had an invincible heart. Even in the face of an expert, he would not retreat. He could even erupt with power that was several times stronger than his body, allowing him to look down on everyone. Defeating this kind of tyrant martial way was almost impossible. But at the same time, once this tyrant martial way was defeated, the Tao heart of Little Yao Wang Hanya would be crushed. Even if Chu Fengmian doesn't kill him, this Little Yao Wang Hanya will become a waste, and his strength will never be able to go any further. With such an invincible heart, no wonder this Little Yao Wang Hanya was a genius who could compete with Wu Dao, the young lord of the Holy Academy sect. The way of the Overlord? Invincible heart. Today, I will crush your martial arts and defeat your invincibility. Chu Fengmian shouted coldly. So what if he had the way of the Overlord and the heart of invincibility? Today, Chu Fengmian will crush this Little Yao Wang Hanya's invincible heart. The moment an invincible person becomes an enemy of Chu Fengmian, he will eventually become a dead man. Behind Chu Fengmian, a shocking sword intent burst out. countless spiritual power sword intents condensed on the spiritual sword in Chu Fengmian's hand. At the moment of accumulating this power to the extreme, Chu Fengmian's sword edge suddenly soared into the sky. 3 suns. Boom! Billowing flames condensed on Chu Fengmian's sword edge. As Chu Fengmian's sword struck out, it turned into a sea of fire, filling the entire passage. In this sea of fire, the invincible sword edge was contained, sweeping everything before it. Little Jianwang Hanye's invincible fist was immediately crushed by the sword edge. The next moment, the sword edge approached little Jianwang Hanye's chest. Light of redemption. At this moment, Monk Xuanluan on the side suddenly made a move. Buddha light appeared behind him, and a lotus throne appeared under him. He transformed into a real Buddha. He suddenly stretched out his hand, condensed a ray of light, and grabbed at little Jianwang Hanyi. Everything that this ray of light passed was pulled into the light. This was another supreme secret technique of the Buddhist League. This technique was the supreme rescue technique of Buddhism, the light of redemption. Even in a dangerous situation, once one stepped into the light of redemption, it was enough to be dangerous. Monk Xuanluan suddenly made a move when little Jianwang Hanyi was about to be forced into a desperate situation by Chu Fengmian. He wanted to save little Jianwang Hanyi by using the light of redemption. Want to save someone? I can't kill you today, but you still want to save someone in front of me? Chu Fengmian saw Monk Xuanluan make a move and snorted coldly. Monk Xuanluan made a move to save little Jianwang Hanyi because he wanted to leave an opponent for Chu Fengmian. After all, the enmity between him and Chu Fengmian had been formed today. Once Monk Xuanluan left the Buddhist temple, Chu Fengmian could kill him. He also planned to save little Jianwang Hanyi, and fight with him against Chu Fengmian in the future. However, how could Chu Fengmian give this kind of opportunity to him? Sword of Creation. Chu Fengmian's natal sword energy in his body suddenly activated at this moment. It condensed into a sword of creation in his palm, and immediately slashed at the light of redemption. The defense of the light of redemption was invincible. It was not only used to save people, but also a defensive secret technique of Buddhism. Ordinary sword light might not be able to break the defense of the light of redemption, but the power of creation was the most tyrannical force in the world. The most ferocious and powerful force in the world was the power of thunder tribulation, and the power of creation was the condensation of the power of thunder tribulation. Although Chu Fengmian's natal sword energy was condensed from the power of creation, the power of creation contained in it was extremely small. At most, it could only be used once. However, this time, it was enough to deal with the light of redemption. When the sword of creation was slashed out, everything was disdainful. Nothing could resist the sharpness of the sword of creation. The sword of creation suddenly pierced into the light of redemption. Countless cracks appeared on the invincible defense of the light of redemption, and then it shattered. That little Jianwang Hanye's complexion immediately paled. He had originally thought that the light of redemption would be able to save him and allow him to escape from danger. However, right before his eyes, the light of redemption had been destroyed by the sword of creation. Creation. Monk Xuanluan spat out these 2 words coldly. There was an indescribable shock in his tone. Everyone knew that the most tyrannical force of all the swords in the world belonged to the creation. However, no one had truly mastered the power of creation. Chu Fengmian's sword of creation was enough to prove that Chu Fengmian had mastered the power of creation. Chapter 1633. Perhaps others did not understand the terror of controlling the power of creation. However, Monk Xuanluan's identity was extraordinary. In the Pure Land Star field where he came from, there were many ancient books recorded by the invincible experts of Buddhism. In the past, many invincible experts of the Buddhist sect, and even many Buddhist ancestors, had attempted to control the power of creation. However, no one had succeeded. Buddha was an invincible expert comparable to an immortal emperor. In any era, he was an invincible existence. How could he not be shocked when Chu Fengmian did something that even the Buddha couldn't do? This person's origin is too terrifying. I don't know if he had a fortuitous encounter or if there is a shocking origin behind him. I can't continue to fight with this person today. Monk Xuanluan looked at Chu Fengmian with deep fear and was unwilling to continue the fight. Monk Xuanluan had originally planned to use the various Buddhist prohibitions in the temple to fight with Chu Fengmian. After all, Monk Xuanluan could continuously absorb the power of Buddhism in the temple and was invincible. However, the appearance of the power of creation changed his mind. If Chu Fengmian continuously bombarded him with the power of creation, he would not be able to recover in time and would be killed on the spot. There were many powerful beings of the Buddhist sects who had died under the heavenly tribulations. This monk of Chakravarti did not wish to end up with such an outcome. At least save this person before leaving. This person is also a disciple of the sacred dragon mystery domain. He must know something about this kid. Monk Xuanluan's eyes flickered. He gave up the fight with Chu Fengmian and rushed towards little Jianwang Hanyi. However, Chu Fengmian's speed was faster than Monk Xuanluan. After breaking Monk Xuanluan's light of redemption, Chu Fengmian's sword fell. Little Jianwang Hanyi's body exploded under the sword. His body was destroyed mercilessly and his essence and blood danced in the sky. Sky-devouring secret skill. Almost at the moment little Jianwang Hanyi's body was destroyed, the sky-devouring secret skill was activated and began to devour little Jianwang Hanyi's essence and blood. Once all the essence and blood was devoured, it would mean the death of little Jianwang Hanyi. Let me go. Chu Fengmian, no, brother Chu, let me go. I'm willing to work for you to deal with Wu Dao. Even the Sacred Academy sect will work for you. Little Jianwang Hanyi roared crazily. He was defeated by Chu Fengmian, and his invincible heart was broken. Now, he no longer had the appearance of an overlord. He had already become a pitiful dog, constantly begging Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian heard the pleading of little Jianwang Hanyi, but his face remained unmoved. This little Jianwang Hanyi had schemed against Chu Fengmian countless times. There was no way Chu Fengmian would keep such a scheming person by his side. Die! Chu Fengmian snorted coldly, and immediately channeled his spiritual power into the Devouring the Sky secret technique. The power of the Devouring the Sky secret technique immediately accelerated, frantically devouring the blood essence of Hanyi. Dharma of all living beings. Life and death reincarnation. All of a sudden, the reincarnation monk roared out as his aura skyrocketed. White flames started burning on his body. This white flame was not a flame Chu Fengmian had seen before. Although it was called a flame, it contained the aura of death. The reincarnation monk ignited the white flame, and suddenly rushed into the Devouring the Sky secret technique. Chu Fengmian did not expect this sudden action. The reincarnation monk dared to rush into the Devouring the Sky secret technique. The Devouring the Sky secret technique was so powerful that even the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu would die if he entered it. No matter how strong the reincarnation monk was, he was courting death. In order to save Hanyi, the reincarnation monk did not hesitate to enter the Devouring the Sky secret technique with his physical body, intending to save him. Chu Fengmian was surprised. He shouted coldly, and the target of the Devouring the Sky secret technique changed to the reincarnation monk. The devouring power immediately activated the Devouring Sky secret technique. Chu Fengmian poured all his power into the Devouring Sky secret technique, and the devouring power of the Devouring Sky secret technique suddenly increased by dozens of times. The devouring power crazily devoured the spiritual power of the reincarnation monk. However, the white flame burning behind the reincarnation monk was actually resisting the devouring power of the Devouring Sky secret technique. This was the first time that the Devouring Sky secret technique, which could devour all the heavens, was helpless against a person. What kind of secret technique is this? Chu Fengmian frowned. He looked at the white flame abruptly, and saw a huge hexagonal wheel emerging from the white flame. The hexagonal wheel seemed to represent the life and death of all the heavens, and the reincarnation of life and death in Buddhism was vividly reflected in it. 6 paths of reincarnation. This is the most mysterious secret technique of the Samsara sect of Buddhism. Chu Fengmian suddenly thought of an ancient rumor. It was said that among the countless branches of Buddhism, the Pure Land sect was the most prosperous, the Sumeru sect was the most powerful, and the Samsara sect was the most mysterious. These three sects were known as the three great sects of Buddhism, and they were also the core of Buddhism. The reincarnation of all the heavens was the foundation of the Samsara sect. It was said that the experts of the Samsara sect did not have to enter the reincarnation cycle, and they could be reborn, and control the power of reincarnation. Chu Fengmian used to be dismissive of reincarnation, but after he was reborn, he suddenly realized that reincarnation was not an illusory thing. Chu Fengmian did not know much about the Samsara sect. He had tried to search for records about the Samsara sect, but there were only a few. The Samsara sect was already extremely mysterious in Buddhism, let alone in the outside world. It was said that the disciples of the Samsara sect were rarely born in 10,000 years. He did not expect the Jianwang monk to use the secret technique of the Samsara sect, and he was most likely a disciple of the Samsara sect. I have to capture this person. Chu Fengmian's eyes were burning with passion. If the Samsara sect really had records of samsara and reincarnation, Chu Fengmian might be able to uncover the secrets of his second life and his reincarnation. Dragon Emperor Seal. In an instant, Chu Fengmian gathered the power of the blood in his body, and a huge seal was formed in the sky, and it came crashing down. However, just as the Dragon Emperor seal was about to land on the Jianwang monk, the 6 paths wheel and the white flames behind the Jianwang monk resisted the power of the Dragon Emperor seal. Within the 6 paths wheel, it was as if all the forces in the world could not cause any harm to the Jianwang monk. Carefree heaven and earth. Just as Chu Fengmian struck again, the Jianwang monk suddenly turned into a ray of golden light, and flew into the passage of the temple, disappearing without a trace. Before he left, the Jianwang monk took away a ball of blood essence of little Yaowang Han Yi. Chapter 1634. The Jianwang monk turned into a ray of golden light and rushed into the passage of the Buddhist temple. He passed through countless Buddhist restrictions and disappeared without a trace. Chu Fengmian watched the Jianwang monk turn into a ray of golden light and did not chase after him. There were many Buddhist restrictions in the Buddhist temple. The Jianwang monk was not afraid of these restrictions. However, if Chu Fengmian activated his spiritual energy to chase after him, he would definitely be bombarded by the Buddhist restrictions. The loss would outweigh the gain. It's a pity that the Jianwang monk has too many secrets. He even knows the secret skill of the Samsara sect. The 6 paths of reincarnation is indeed powerful. The 6 paths of reincarnation, the secret skill that the Jianwang monk had just activated, seemed to have surpassed the 6 paths of reincarnation. No attack could hit him. Even the heaven-devouring secret skill could not do anything to him, and he managed to escape in the end. However, this was within the Buddhist temple. The Jianwang monk was supported by a large number of Buddhist restrictions in the temple. It was sufficient for him to activate such a secret skill. If they were outside, the spiritual energy required to activate the 6 paths of reincarnation would be enough to suck the Jianwang monk dry. The price that one had to pay for such a powerful secret skill was incomparably huge. Just like Chu Fengmian, even if he had obtained the 9 mysterious immortal arts. However, Chu Fengmian could only use the first 4 moves. This was because the spiritual energy required to activate the last 3 moves was too much for Chu Fengmian to bear. If Chu Fengmian activated it forcefully, he would be digging his own grave. The 6 paths of reincarnation was definitely the Jianwang monk's trump card. It was a secret skill that could save his life. Once activated, he would have to pay a huge price. Otherwise, he would not have been forced to use it at the last moment. It's a pity that the little Yaowang Han Yi did not die. Chu Fengmian shook his head. This was the most pitiful point for Chu Fengmian. In the Buddhist temple, even if Chu Fengmian did not activate the 6 paths of reincarnation, he would not be able to kill the Jianwang monk. Therefore, Chu Fengmian's goal from the very beginning was the little Yaowang Han Yi, not this monk Jianwang. Chu Fengmian had broken the body of little Yaowang Han Yi. More than 90% of his blood essence had been refined by the sky-devouring secret skill and transformed into Chu Fengmian's spiritual power. But just now, Monk Xuanluan had forcefully activated the secret technique of 6 paths of reincarnation and rushed into the secret technique of swallowing sky, and took away a small part of little Yao Wang Hanye's blood essence. Therefore, even though it was less than 1/10 of it, it was enough for the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu like the little Yao Wang Hanyi to reconstruct his physical body. However, having lost 90% of his blood essence, little Yao Wang Hanye's strength was equivalent to losing 90%. Not to mention, this person's heart of invincibility had already been broken by Chu Fengmian. His tyrant martial Dao could no longer be improved. The next time he met Chu Fengmian, he would no longer be a threat. This Xuanluan monk wanted to forcibly rescue little Yao Wang Hanyi because he wanted to find out all kinds of secrets about Chu Fengmian from little Yao Wang Hanyi. Unfortunately, little Yao Wang Hanyi knew nothing about Chu Fengmian. Therefore, Chu Fengmian was not worried. The next time I see this monk Xuanluan, I must capture him. Chu Fengmian's eyes were extremely cold. This monk Xuanluan might have the secret to explain Chu Fengmian's reincarnation. This time, monk Xuanluan escaped. The next time Chu Fengmian saw him, he must capture him and force out the secret of Samsara sect. First, I will refine all of little Yao Wang Hanye's blood essence, and the countless treasures in Master Huang's empty ring. Although this time I have not obtained the treasures in this Buddhist temple, I have already gained a lot. More than 90% of little Yao Wang Hanye's blood essence had been devoured by Chu Fengmian using the secret technique of swallowing sky and turned into pure spiritual power. Since Chu Fengmian killed Master Huang, Master Huang's empty ring had now fallen into Chu Fengmian's hands. There were many treasures in Master Huang's empty ring. Many of the treasures could be said to be of great use to the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu. They could even be of great use to experts who were half a step away from the celestial realm. It seemed that Master Huang had also gained a lot in the 9 regions. Among them, Chu Fengmian saw a batch of ancient sacred elixirs in Master Huang's empty ring. There were dozens of them. Many of the ancient sacred elixirs exuded a rich medicinal fragrance. They were probably ancient sacred elixirs from the Middle Ages. These ancient sacred elixirs contained pure spiritual power, which was suitable for Chu Fengmian to cultivate. He could use the medicinal power in them to condense the Dragon Emperor's blood essence. Chu Fengmian sat on the ground and poured out all the ancient sacred elixirs. With the activation of Chu Fengmian's spiritual power, the secret technique of swallowing sky opened above Chu Fengmian's head. These ancient sacred elixirs, as well as the blood essence of Hanyi, were all sucked into the secret technique of swallowing sky. They were mercilessly refined by the power of the secret technique of swallowing sky. In an instant, Chu Fengmian felt a large amount of pure spiritual power pouring into Chu Fengmian's body. These spiritual powers were all devoured by the battle dragon bloodline in Chu Fengmian's body. Drops of ancient battle dragon blood essence had devoured enough power. They flashed with dazzling light and were immediately transformed into Dragon Emperor blood essence. Chu Fengmian's aura was also rising step by step. Chu Fengmian's aura became more dignified and noble. It was as if he was developing towards a real emperor. In some countries, the emperor was called the true dragon son of heaven. Now, Chu Fengmian's bloodline was advancing towards the real ancient dragon emperor, the emperor of all dragons. The aura was self-evident. Now, even if Chu Fengmian had restrained his aura, some martial artists could see the nobility of Chu Fengmian's bloodline when they looked at Chu Fengmian. It was extraordinary. Of course, Chu Fengmian's Dragon Emperor blood essence had only transformed a part of it. Once Chu Fengmian truly possessed the Dragon Emperor blood essence, Chu Fengmian would be able to step into the peak of the half-step celestial realm with the power of his bloodline. Once he stepped into the celestial realm, he would no longer be a Dragon Emperor, but a Dragon Emperor. The limit of the second level of the Battle Dragon skill was to possess the power of a Dragon Emperor. The second level of the Battle Dragon skill was to first transform all 129,600 drops of Battle Dragon blood essence into Dragon Emperor blood essence, and then break through to the celestial realm. Stepping into the celestial realm would allow the second level of the battle dragon skill to be perfected. 2,600 drops. Chu Fengmian slowly opened his eyes. After refining all the sacred elixirs in the empty rings of Han Yi and Master Huang, now, the Dragon Emperor blood essence in Chu Fengmian's body had reached 2,600 drops. This was almost comparable to the power of 260,000 drops of ancient battle dragon blood essence. Now, Chu Fengmian's bloodline power alone was more powerful than 2 ancient battle dragons. The title number is wrong. I can't change it here. I can only leave it at that. You're tuning into the Mythic Realms YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.